Hello, good evening and welcome ladies and gentlemen to the season finale of the Sim Racing Collective MX-5 Championship for 2025 as brought to you on the premier sim racing platform available only on PC, known as iRacing. That's right folks, we are here in our 6th and final round of the season, and what a season it has been. From the very heights of our season opener all the way to the wet and wild madness of Watkins Glen last time out in the US of A, it has been a season that has kept us guessing each and every step of the way. And what it means as we make our way into our finale here at the Red Bull Ring in Austria is that we have yet to crown either our Pro or Am champions. Indeed, our championships are still technically wide open, particularly in the Am class, perhaps less so in the Pro class, and everything will need to be resolved today, and everything is still to play for. But where are my manners? Allow me to welcome you all to this live broadcast from Circuit Side. That's right, after some technical issues last week, we are back to live broadcasting for our season finale. We wouldn't have it any other way, I can assure you of that, and we are here at Circuit Side on the official Sim Racing Collective YouTube channel. Indeed, go to youtube.com and search for TSRC or the Sim Racing Collective, and you can be tuning in and joining the ranks and the likes of Michelle Matchett, who we say good evening to Michelle, and we also say good evening to Johnny Woo, who is tuning in right now and gives us a wave, and we give him a wave back, albeit we don't have a web camera in this quarantine booth, but you can imagine I'm definitely giving Johnny a wave right now. In the quarantine booth you have myself, my name is Paul Walsh, also known as TX1 or Britain a Spit, depending on what media you follow me on, and I shall be bringing you all your racing action as it unfolds here in what is looking to be a rather wet Austrian circuit. Of course, our host circuit is the Red Bull Ring's national circuit, 1.45 miles in length, 6 corners, 3 straights of varying length. It is a classic racing circuit for cup racing, particularly when it comes to Mazda MX-5 Cup cars, with plenty of width, plenty of braking zones, and plenty of opportunities to do battle. And indeed, our drivers will be doing battle today as they try to end their campaigns on the all-important high. And speaking of how they end it today, well, let's take you through our scheduled times in the UK time zone, and they are as follows. In just approximately 3 minutes' time, we're making our way into our final qualifying session of the season. 10 minutes in duration, 3 flying laps, who will be on pole, and after that, then we make our way into the races. The first of our 2 races, race number 11. That'll be a 15-minute sprint race at 8:15 this evening, after which we take a brief breather before returning for race 12 of 12, our final race of the season. 30 minutes for that all-important top 10 reverse grid based on results of race number 1, and thereafter we will be crowning our champions. But goodness me, what a round we've got in store, and the rain only adds to it. And as our drivers get themselves set, well, let's recap the season so far and what we still got lying in wait. Because as we can see then, we made our way all the way around the globe from open up at the Okayama International Circuit all the way back in round 1 of 6. That was Monday, was the 8th of September. Goodness me, how the time has flown. We are midway through October now. Indeed, it's been a month and a half since we started, and well, that time has flown by. But you know what they say, time flies when you're having fun. Indeed, we have had absolutely brilliant fun, haven't we? Tuning into all the racing week in, week out, and our drivers certainly have as well. Because after Okayama, it was the Nürburgring Grosser Preis Sprint Strecke, which saw our drivers go roaring on around the German circuit, and indeed a tricky day of racing there, particularly for our big leaders in both the Pro and the Am Championships, who found their initial leads curbed somewhat, and we had new stars come rising up through the ranks. And the Silverstone International Circuit, the first round, we did see the rain play a part. The rain came a little bit too late in the day in the feature race. Indeed, those who were on the wet tyre saw things fall apart just before things got interesting, before we then made our way to Spain. And sunny Spain it was for the Circuito de Navarra's Speed Circuit Medium, and there we got to see under dry conditions 3, 4 wide every lap up and down the field. Indeed, it was absolutely non-stop, so much so that in the end there had to be a stoppage of the race at some point, otherwise we would never have seen those cars make it to the end, given how close the race it was. But indeed, everyone absolutely loved the battle in there. And last time out, of course, it was wet, it was windy, it was Watkins Glen in the US state of New York, and the Cup classic course there absolutely delivering, where it be the bus stop chicane, its extended straight to its sweeping curves, and it set the scene today as we made our way to the Red Bull Ring's national circuit. But speaking specifically about our circuit, well, located near the town of Spielberg in the Styrian region of Austria, we can see 6 corners centred on the southern section of the infamous circuit, previously known as the Österreichische Ring, also known as the A1 Ring due to sponsorship reasons, and now known as the Red Bull Ring, as sponsored by Red Bull Energy Drinks. But whether you're a Helmut Marko fan or not, one thing you can definitely be a fan of, and a big thank you to iRacing.com for their brilliant simulator and also the track mats that come with it, is that this national circuit really does deliver on the premier stage. 6 corners, as you can see, and it all begins at Niki Lauda corner, the the fast right-hander at turn number 1, while drivers will need to bounce their way for a depression in the apex before then going uphill towards the highest point of the circuit, at least initially at turn number 2. Then we'll see our drivers sweep their way back on themselves immediately, cutting off the northern half of the Grand Prix circuit for turns 2, 3 and 4, where the average apex speed builds incredibly quickly, but all 3 of these corners are about nailing as late an apex as possible. But with that and going out wide to nail that late apex, of course it does mean that you will end up leaving the door open for somebody to lunge up the inside, so it's going to be a bit of game of gambling. But as they make the way on through, and those who've gambled correctly, they'll make their way out of the right-hander at turn number 4 and roll the way in towards Jochen corner at turn number 5, named after the country's home hero of motorsport, and down for the sweeping right-hander they'll go completely off camber and into the off camber turn number 6 or the A1 corner to complete lap and do it all over again. A quick reminder of the rules, because we can't go racing without them. This is a fixed setup series with setups provided to our drivers ahead of each and every round of race. A closed qualifying format shall be used. It's just about to get underway, with drivers having 3 flying laps available, plus the outlap. As for our races, well, the sprint race grid is set based on the results of qualifying. That's a given. And we set the feature race grid as a top 10 reverse grid based on the results of the sprint. Each driver has 1 fast pair available in each race should they need it, and they may also come into the pit lane if they've accumulated 17 instant points or more, and that will award them with a drive-through penalty. Meanwhile, all race shooting shall be conducted post-round. But without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, let's make our way back to circuit side, and as qualifying does get underway, the rain stops falling for a brief moment, and indeed a little bit moisture out of the circuit, but plenty of cloud as well. That rain may come back in short order, and let's walk you through the championship standings then as we make our way into this final round. So we start off with the Pro Championship, and as we can see, Jamie Nuttall is the man to beat. He's not here today, he's currently away. I do believe he's in Spain enjoying GT Challenge racing, but the point is he thinks he's got the job done on 212 points to 184 of Kieran Sharp. It is a gap there, or the best part, if my mental mathematics is correct, of 28 points, and he'll feel as though this is more than enough to keep it clear. However, Kieran Sharp, with the drop scores in effect, practically needs a maximum score today if he wants to take that crown away from Nuttall. It will be very close if he does so. Indeed, the mathematics still needs to be worked out, and we will give you a provisional update at the end of today's broadcast after the interviews as to who our provisional champions are. But for Sharp, keep it in mind, he needs a perfect score, and while many drivers behind him will try to take that away from him. Why is that? Because there's a fight for third to be decided. Tom Davidson is the favourite for the Sim Racing Collective Esports, and he's ahead of MSA Racing's Craig Twardock on 147 points. There's 133 to Nick Clibbins for iRacing Esports, who's the outsider in the hunt for third place. But both Twardock and Clibbins have both had some very good performances recently, and therefore you can imagine they'll feel as though they could potentially dethrone Davidson from that final spot in the runner-up podium positions. Francesco Petalin, well, he's definitely had mixed fortunes this season, but the Absolute Motorsport Ace Lift driver is no stranger to sinking his teeth into the racing, albeit we'll try to not ride on board with him today, because he does seem to have the commentators cursing him, which is every time we ride on board with him or either his teammate of Eugenio Polici, who's all the way down in 16th place, things go very wrong very quickly. He's only 3 points ahead of Altura Esports' Miles Owens, with your top 10 being completed by Bart Raven, Andrew Pike and Alan McCain. From the 99 points of Alan McCain, it's then 14 down to the privateer Brady Horsenob, with Clive Bourne in 12th place, with Big Pig Racing by VRS ahead of iRace Esports' Sam Smith, and your pro standings are wrapped up by William Chandler, Jack Salfield, Eugenio Polici, Kieran O'Reilly and Gurgly Kunzabo. As for the AM class, well, here the complexion is a lot tighter. 4 points is the delta at the very top between Martin Foster for RPMS SimSport and Daniel Moffat, the privateer. These two have both had success. They've both had struggles. They've both delivered, they've both under-delivered, and right now they'll both need to deliver for the final time today if one of them wants to become your champion. It's not going to be easy for either of them, particularly when you see the man who's in third place, Mav Gardner for the Sim Racing Collective Esports. He's an outsider in the hunt for the title crown, and indeed had all his momentum blunted at Watkins Glen after the back-to-back victories at the Circuito de Navarra in round number 4, but can he get back on fine form today? Jonas Wenzel, conversely, had a great day at Watkins Glen by comparison, and whilst he's the biggest outsider by 20 points, he still can mathematically win this if everybody else struggles and he picks up the big scores. So therefore, keep your eyes out for the German driver who looks so strong in the early portion of the season. It all went wrong at his home circuit, however, and now he's got to try and bounce back and indeed try to wrap this on a high. Is there a further 31 points to Paul Sims in 5th place? Indeed, what an interesting run of form he's had, where it all went right in the season open, and since then he's never been able to really recapture that form, and he holds on to 5th in no man's land. and is therefore just going to try and steal points away from the top 4 where he can. Matt Smith sits in 6th for Cracked Racing, only ahead of David Long based on result countback, with the Brocker Racing team driver in 7th ahead of Mark Pezza, and it's Lenny Hansen and Martin Rendell who complete your top 10. Indeed, that could look very close in the fight for 6th there when you do the mathematics between all 5 drivers. Gareth Ronda sits in 11th, only a further point behind. He's in that hunt as well for 6th place, as is Valera Tedeschi, and then we do see a bit further back Thomas Martin in 13th, ahead of Luke Smith, Carillo Turan and Mickey Ford, and that rounds off your AM standings coming into this round. But as our drivers continue on their laps, well, let's very quickly start to look at some of the drivers making their way on out there. Indeed, some delivering, some parking up. Miles Owens here taking it nice and easy, because he's just finished his final flying lap. So indeed, we're coming towards the end of this qualifying session. And as we do see that Martin Foster has now just jumped to the top of the standings. That's a very quick lap there from the AM Championship leader. That's exactly what you need in the RPMS SimSport machine. And the 44 driver, they're doing well. But Craig Twardock says, well, hold on the phone. I'm going to now move my way up here as well. And that's 101.362. The lap times here just a tiny sliver over a minute. And that's definitely going to keep things intriguing as we go racing. Because understandably, between all the drivers here, it is going to be all fun as they roar the way on around, but the big question will be exactly who will get the job done. Well, that we are going to wait and see, because the roars his way around. Well, right now Twardock has one more lap available to him, whereas most have already exhausted all their laps, so I think Twardock here will be feeling quite happy of himself. Now he's on for original pole. Can anybody swipe it back? Well, Bart Raven's coming out the final corner, and the Cracked Racing driver from the Netherlands here, neighbouring Netherlands, will roars his way to line in the very colourful machine. What can he do? He's all the way down in 13th place, and the answer is he puts himself all the way up to 6th place, but it's not the biggest performance. We've got a few drivers out there yet to get any times on the board, and well, we just had a time posted in there by an improvement Francesco Petalin. He moves his way into 10th place, and that'll be the highest he goes in this session because he has completed all his valid laps. That's his third and final lap he's just done, and the Italian driver there will start in 10th place at the highest point. We've got Daniel Moffat out there right now, weaving and winding his way on down. Can he find a little bit more as he heads out the final corner? Well, here he goes, and as he does so, what's it going to be here for Moffat? The answer is it's invalidated. He won't be going any further, so he parks up. 17th is the best he could do, and what about contrasting forms there? Championship leader in the AM class, Foster, third place currently. Meanwhile, his challenger in second, 4 points behind, 17th, as Sam Smith there runs out so wide that he almost ended up into the grass coming out of A1 corner, and as he heads across the line, that'll be an invalidated lap for the first time around, and he's got 2 more laps available to him. Now, we do have 3 drivers who will not be setting qualifying laps today, and that includes Eugenio Polici, Mark Pezza and Janos Wenzel, because they've all picked up 6 or more licence points as a result of incidents after round number 5, so that's why you don't see them there on the timing tower. They are here today, and they are in full attendance, but they have not got the right to set a qualifying lap, so they will need to come through the field over the course of the race. And for Janos Wenzel in particular, that means his task to try and steal away the AM crown is going to be made ever harder, and we'll have to see what he could do, and indeed for all of our drivers here, what they could do, because of course qualifying is just really one side of the story here in the MX-5 Championship. We have really seen that time and time again. The only one driver who has really made qualifying count is the man who's absent today, your pro champion-elect almost, of Jamie Nuttall, who, as many of you may remember, in his interview at round number 2, we asked him the fact, does he enjoy being the leader of the pack, and he mentioned very clearly that he prefers to be at the very front for the simple reason that he can control the race a lot more compared to his rivals. And well, for Nuttall, that has really been one of the stories of the season, the fact he's very quickly found his way through if he's not at the front at the start of the race, and then he proceeds to control or dominate the narrative of the races, as much as Kieran Sharp and Tom Davidson have tried to push back, and even the likes of Craig Twardock and Nick Clivins at certain points. So it's been very interesting to see that perspective. But as Sam Smith roars his way on through turn number 2 and down in towards 3, well, if you are in the YouTube chat right now, don't be shy, feel free to say hi, because at the end of the day, we're all friendly here at the Sim Racing Collective, and do let us know who you're cheering on and who you expect to be pro and AM champions coming out of tonight's race, and what are your predictions. And indeed, feel free to also let us know with regards to the Red Bull circuit, whether it's a circuit you like or whether it's a circuit that you're not the biggest fan of. Most, I do believe, people I've ever spoken to do like the Red Bull Ring circuit, although they do find the track limits here a little bit egregious with how strict they are. But right now, Sam Smith showing you how to run wide again as he comes out the final corner, and on those dry tyres, that's going to be another invalidated lap there for Smith, and it's 3 invalidated laps in 3. Smith is not going to get a time on the board, and that will be his qualifying session done and dusted. But for the final time this season, pole position will go to first-time pole sitter Craig Twardock for the MSA Racing driver in the 200. He's going to take his maiden pole position, and this could be at right about the right time. In the absence of Jamie Nuttall, where he's fallen to second on several occasions to Nuttall qualified, but here today he has got it done. So Twardock put in an absolutely brilliant performance there in qualifying, and he will be absolutely pleased as punch with that. Will be his car hidden away from us, and there it is, the car with the Martini Racing colours. Well, very shortly he will be going green flag racing, and when he does, well, it's going to be absolutely fantastic to see whether he will be able to keep Kieran Sharp behind, because Sharp is going to be second on that grid, and in third place is going to be your AM pole sitter of Martin Foster, and what a way to open up the season finale as championship leader by 4 points over Daniel Moffat by putting yourself an AM pole and putting yourself 7 places ahead of the next AM driver of Matt Smith, who starts in 11th ahead of Paul Sims. But then again, qualifying is just one small page in the story. We have seen that time and time again this season. Will it be what dictates the way it goes, or will we see things shaken up? Well, we'll have to find out, ladies and gentlemen, because without further ado, qualifying comes to a close. It's time to head to the grid for our first race of the day here at the Red Bull Rings National Circuit in round number 6 of the TSRC MX-5 Championship. So as they all make their way to the grid, this is how they'll line up then for the 15-minute sprint, race number 11 of the season. It is Craig Twardock who takes his first ever from qualifying pole position for MSA Racing, and he'll be joined on the front row of the grid by Kieran Sharp for the Sim Racing Collective Esports, who puts it alongside half a tenth down. Martin Foster, he takes third place, and I agree with Mr. Rich there in the YouTube chat that says, Foster, make it a statement. Indeed he does for RPMS Simsport. He's here to be your AM champion, and it's a third place, his highest ever start going into a sprint. Miles Owens begins this one in fourth place for Altura Esports. Owens does a great job in qualifying as well. Definitely this circuit suited some drivers who haven't normally qualified too well, it must be said, and he will be joined a row behind by Andrew Pyatt for the Sim Racing Collective Esports, head of Bart Raven for Cracked Racing. Then on row number 4, we've got Tom Davidson for the Sim Racing Collective Esports, who conversely has one of his worst qualifying performances of the season, and that's not the way he's wanted to start it, and he will be joined on that fourth row by Nick Clearance for iRacing Esports. William Chandler starts 9th for Cracked Racing ahead of Francesco Petalin, and Petalin there only managed in 10th place, the Italian driver for Absolute Motorsport Ace Live. I think he'll be a little bit vexed at that one and wondering where did all the pace go. Starting in 11th place, meanwhile, will be your second place AM driver of Matt Smith for Cracked Racing, and he'll be in the company on the 6th row of fellow AM driver Paul Sims, who returns to the top 3 of the AM class in qualifying. It's been some time since we've seen Sims there, but he's finally found the edge that he had all the way back at Okayama. Now, can he maintain it? Behind him, it will be Clive Bourne in the Big Pig Racing by VRS 807, and then we'll have Lenny Hansen for Bottle Job Racing, who joins him on the 7th row of the grid. It's then going to be an all-AM 8th row. Mav Garner there starting all the way down in 5th place. The AM's 15th overall. That's against the grain, and he'll be joined by Martin Rendell, the privateer. Daniel Moffat begins this one in 17th, ahead of Alan McCain for iRacing Esports, with Valerio Tedeschi and Luke Smith for FD Racing rounding off your top 20. And then it is Eugenio Polici, the first of a number of drivers who did not set a lap, and this was firstly for Polici due to a qualifying ban. That's Super Motorsport Ace Lift driver starting 21st in the number 7 car, with Sam Smith joining him on the 11th row, and Smith trying to set laps, but in the end invalidated all 3 of them for iRacing Esports. And it will also be qualifying bans being served for Janos Wenzel and Thomas Martin, and just behind them we will see started 25th on the grid, Mark Peza there, and indeed a challenging qualifying session for so many drivers. And well, as I double check there, Thomas Martin did not have a qualifying ban, just to correct myself. In fact, he just did not set a valid lap, so therefore he starts 24th in amongst all the penalised drivers, and we will feel as though he's penalised himself a little bit as he gets set to go racing. But without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, as all of our drivers sit on the grid in position, we're not too far away from going racing for the first time today. And well, for Craig Twardock and Kieran Sharp, it's going to feel as though it's a long run to the very top if you want to rock and roll in these MX-5s. But right now for Twardock, it is an opportunity to try and take his first overall win of the season. He has chased it several times. He's been the bridesmaid, but never the bride. But can he finally do it here today? Well, we're going to find out as he turns the steering wheel one way, then the other, trying to make sure that everything is working as expected. Kieran Sharp, meanwhile, he knows what he's got to do from that front row of the grid. But here come the lights. This is 1, it's 2, it's 3, it's 4, it's 5 lights. And it's lights out and away we go for our first race of the day here at the Red Bull Ring. A good start there from Twadok. Kirishov immediately starts to come across. A jump start for Martin Rendell. That's going to put him all the way back, so he will have to come in and serve a drive-through penalty. But as they head up the hill and in towards turn 1, Twadok holds onto lead. And the Welshman right now trying to bolt away as quickly as he can into that lead and pull a couple of cars with me. Doesn't want to be stuck in the pack. But they all come towards us here in towards turn number 2. And as they do, well, right now, many drives here thinking about 2 wide. Nobody doing a braver 3 wide this early on. I could imagine with the inclement conditions here, no rain falling, but cold track temperature and also cold ambient temperature as well, plus also a little bit of moisture on the circuit, it's going to be a bit difficult. Now keep in mind we do have a couple of wet starters here. Miles Owens, Daniel Moffat and Paul Sims all on the wet tyre. Everybody else is on a dry slick tyre. Could that be a little bit of a factor here that could suddenly flip things around? Well, we'll see, depending on whether the rain arrives or not in full force. But right now it just looks as though there's mist in the air. There's no actual rain. And Twadok leads then coming out to the final corner for what will be many a time here in racing, but leading by half a second here, it's going to be Twadok, followed by Sharp. Then we have Foster, your AM leader, still holding on to third place. He has got for close company Bart Raven, followed by Pike. Then we've got Davidson, Clivins, Chandler, Owens and Petlin. They complete your top 10. Petlin under pressure here from Smith and Mav Gardner. Gardner trying to make some progress, but Clive Bourne with the Cadbury Cream Egg Machine. Well, right now he's hungry for some points there, and it's all the more sweeter as he tucks up the inside of Smith. Well, he tries to, but it's going to be Mav Gardner who gets initially and now tries to go on the offensive. Gardner there, putting 2 wheels to the grass. In the end, gets close, but not too close. And Mav Gardner right now trying to send a message to Bourne, which is, if you're going to pass me, I need you to get a move on, because I'm chasing after Matt Smith right now. I kind of want a chance. Oh, that's a chance to pass Matt Smith, because Matt Smith goes around the exit of turn number 2. And as he tries to get the car back together at 3, well, right now it's not worked out at all. And Matt Smith, well, he'll rejoin, but he'll rejoin all the way at the back of the field, minus Martin Rendell, who, of course, is serving that penalty for the jump start. So a surprise there. That's second place in AM now swapping hands very quickly to Gardner, but as they all come along, Craig Twadok right now continuing to maintain this leader's pace as the wipers are all going on here on these MX-5s. Well, I can't see any rain on the camera, so that mist, the rain must be so fine here. Alternatively, there's just a minuscule amount of spray, and that's triggering the auto wipers of these cars. But right now, Twadok under pressure as they go on to lap number 3, and it is going to be Sharp looking around the outside this time to grab the inside of turn 3 if he can. The only problem with turn number 3 here at the Red Bull Ring is that it's essentially one of those corners which, again, because how late the apex is, being on the inside for it isn't the best place to be. It's actually better to be on the outside of the corner because you'll naturally carry more speed into it, and the only way to get to that inside well is if you're already head on the outside at turn number 2. It sounds very backwards, but that is the unique nature of the curves at the national circuit, in the fact you are really forced to get alongside and get a nose ahead before the next apex. Otherwise you lose momentum into the whole sequence of corners. That's what keeps it intriguing here. As Paul Sims, meanwhile, he's dropped all the way down to 8th place in the AM class. He's had a nightmare start to this race over the opening couple of laps, and Sims right now has had not anything clicked together at all. And well, as I try to carry on here, I can imagine some will be wondering right now exactly how they managed to find the way past Paul Sims. We're wondering how they managed to do it. And in fact, we're going to get a quick replay of how Sims lost so many places. And here we go. Now, this was at the start of the race. We're going to look for Paul Sims in particular. So Sims launched. Terrible launch there from Sims. Looks though he found the wrong gear as he got going. So there was Clive Bourne making his way past. And then we did see cut up the inside. That was going to be a move immediately from Lenny Hansen as he made his way in towards turn number 1. But it wasn't over there yet. Mav Gardner went around the outside. Big dive up the inside as well there for what was, I believe, door number. I can't quite see the door number on the car there, but we ended it at 2. I think it was the 992 machine. In fact, that would not have been Petlin's car. That was the 212 of Alan McCain also cutting up. But as they all made the way on through, well, for Sims, definitely it's losing out. Went deep there at turn number 2 as well, and that opened up the door for Janos Wenzel to look for an opportunity, and Wenzel got a brilliant run out of 2, went to the outside of turn number 3, and here you'll see, look at the momentum that Wenzel will now pick up into 4, and he can just hold that inside line, he can hug it hard, and Sims got demoted so quickly down the order, and losing the best part of 4 places in AM by the time he completed lap number 1, let alone getting onto lap number 2. But we've also had a bit of drama whilst all this has been going on. Of course, this is what happened to Matt Smith on lap 2. This was Smith for Cracked Racing in the 56. He made his way through. That was the car we thought had a 2 on the side. I thought we to apologise. Too much apex curve there at turn number 3. And the rear of the car just snapped loose there. Its left-hand side tyres failed to grip up properly. So Smith in the end going sideways and well, now trying to get himself back together. On lap number 4, we had this happen only just recently whilst we have been looking at replays of earlier incidents. This was Mav Gardner in towards turn number 5, tapped on the rear there. Oh, goodness me, double tap. And that was Mav Gardner, but also there, well, it was a disaster for both drivers. And we did see our cracked racing driver also going around as well. So both Mav Gardner and also there our cracked racing driver, whose name escapes me for a brief moment, well, they both came to fruition, and well, we also saw there a bit of an incident for what was Gav Ronda, and Alan McCain, meanwhile, also had this happen to him only moments around, the Irish esports driver. In fact, it looks though there it was McCain involved in that incident, so my apologies there. The 2-on-2 of Alan McCain definitely involved, and well, the Irishman there getting collected, so that's the car we keep confusing between different drivers. So I think McCain may be normally running an iRacing esports livery, but it's not working today for some reason. But coming back to your live racing then, ladies and gentlemen, as we do, well, we do come back with 5 minutes of this race complete. We still got another 10 plus a final lap to go, or thereabouts. And Kieran Sharp is now your leader. He has swapped places with Twadop. That happened off camera just as we left him. In fact, it happened in turns 2 and 3 on what was lap number 4, but Twadop is right there behind, so Sharp right now takes the lead of this race, knowing that he needs perfection if he wants to potentially steal away the crown from Nuttall, depending on how the drop scores will work out. And again, the mathematics around that is very complex, so that's why we're not going to try and dig into it too much, because otherwise we'll need the abacus out and we'll be here talking equations until the end of the racing, which we don't necessarily want to do. As we do see a car leaving the pit lane there, that is the Planet Express machine making its way on out to Gav Ronda heading onwards, and we'll Bart Raven right now getting very close to the back of Twadop, but it's a bit too close for comfort, and that's going to be Andrew Pike going one way then the other, and the Sim Racing Collective esports driver side by side with him and running an orange livery today, it would seem. Pike not his traditional livery, and with Tom Davidson behind, it is going to be a freeway press here as Davidson tucks him behind Pike, gives him a little bit of a push, and says to the man he refers to, Mr. Fish, jokingly, right, I need you to swim forward, and we're going upstream there. Davidson gets up the inside of what is Raven, and Raven and Pike both been pushed out wide, both picking up slowdowns for the misdemeanors. That's going to have a big contribution here. Davidson will pick up both places for free now, and well, Nick Clemens will come through as well, because those slowdowns, which you can see in the time tower as the yellow flags against the drivers, they must be serving a allotted time, otherwise it'll be an upgraded to what will be a stop and hold penalty. But as they head up the hill, well, everyone's trying to burn those slowdowns as quickly and as with the least amount of damage as possible there, which sounds to the contradiction, but the idea is what you want to do is lift off the throttle slightly and get to a braking zone, essentially trying to trick the automated slowing down system to thinking you've lost more time than you really have. It's a very fine art to do it, but when you get it right, it can work out wonders, and that's why we've seen Pike and Raven fall down a little bit in the order. They've dropped down to 6th and 5th respectively, but nowhere near as much as they could have fallen down, as meanwhile Jonas Wenzel has fallen down into 3rd place in the AM class, with Mark Peza right behind him as we jump on board with the privateer. As the South African driver goes on the attack here from what is right into left and then right again. Well, you can see the wipers on. It doesn't look as though there's much rain falling. If it is, it's so minor. It's not being picked up on the cameras. It must be a fine mist rain here that's being picked up on these cars, but it's not enough to encourage them to use wet tyres or to cause the wet tyre to be the optimum compound. We are still seeing that the slick with some heat in it is a lot faster than the wet compounds out there, with Miles Owens in 13th place being your leading wet runner. And I can imagine the wet runners right now might just be struggling a little bit with regards to trying to keep the temperature of the tyre down. Drivers heading on here, and in fact we have had Daniel Moffat, Martin Rendon and Thomas Martin all go on to what is the wet tyre, so perhaps they are starting to find this circuit is not delivering enough heat for what is the slick tyre, and if so, it might be the wet will come into its own towards the end if the circuit gets wetter. As we can see, Mark Peza right now behind Wenzel, looking for an opportunity. Lenny Hansen did run wide coming out of turn 1. He has picked up a slowdown for that run wide. He will need to serve it soon, because otherwise he is going to be making a trip to the pit lane. Oh, goodness me, as that's not the way to serve it. He ends up going very sideways, almost spears his way to the barrier, rejoins, and well, in the end rejoins, and Paul Sims will jump ahead of Lenny Hansen, the Bottle Job Racing driver, well, almost living up to the team name there of bottling it, as we'd like to say, but to be fair, doing a very good job at keeping the car together and making sure for it not to see the Armco barrier. And right now drops to 6th place in the AM class because also Mav Gardner sneaks us about the inside. We'll look a little bit further back. Here's FT Racing's Luke Smith as he rolls his way around, and it's good to see our 174 driver out there, currently in 8th place in the AM class. Indeed, plenty of drivers having good days today, whether it be drivers at the very front or drivers towards the back. But to give credit where it's due to Luke, He's definitely not let the fact that he's normally running towards the bottom end of the top 10 of the AM class, he's not let it put him off, and I think he's learning with each and every lap turn, and that's what you've got to do. And well, he has a bit of company approaching him from behind, and that's Daniel Moffat, albeit Moffat in the Mario Kart machine is a lap down, or be looking to unlap himself on a wet tyre. And this will be a good indication of whether the wet tyre pace is starting to grow or not. But as they make the way away from us, we come back to the start-finish line straight, and we can see Kieran Sharp still your leader and Twadok with him, but they are now starting to gradually walk away from the rest of the field. Twadok close. He thinks about a little bit of a nudge there in towards the opening corner, but decides not to. Keep in mind they are allowed to make a bit of contact, particularly when it comes to bump drafts in the straight. But other than that, door rubbing is absolutely fine. A little bit of elbows out, that's okay. But any punting from the rear or push to pass, that is a no-go, and that will see them make the way to the steward's room, and the stewards will throw the book at whoever did it. As they come through turns 2, 3 and 4, we jump on board the gyro camera over the top of the car for Craig Twadok, and right now, well, the MSA Racing driver close, but not close enough to think about a move, but I think he right now wants to mutually work with Sharp and just wants to make sure they pull away, because they head in towards Jochen Rindt corner. The gap to Tom Davidson is around 1.4 to 1.5 seconds, depending on the braking zone, the concertina effect playing out. So what it does mean, if they can extend that gap by another half a second, they will have broken the toe to Davidson. However, of course, if they can't open up, if it comes back, Davidson becomes another player in this battle, and suddenly it's a three-way fight for the win rather than a two-way fight, which Sharp, I think, will be hoping for a little bit in some respects, but Twadok says, right, I'm going all in here. Looks up the inside in towards turn 1. Well, he'll get it done there for now. Sharp will tuck back in behind him immediately. Now, what will we see Davidson do? Because Davidson is getting closer. Sharp immediately looks to the outside. Takes more of a race and iron approach here, I think, trying to get into Twadok's head. And well, I wouldn't be surprised now if we're going to see the 200 MX-5, your lead, the Martini machine from MSA Racing, become the widest MX-5 we've ever seen. Because it will be this lap, plus another, if my mental maths is correct, another 3 laps to go. And Twadok is looking for that first win of the season. And well, I get the feeling right now he sees a golden opportunity to take it this time around. But top 3 come down the hill to go to complete another lap. And as they do, well, Nick Clivins is only a second away. He's inching closer. What about our AM leader, Martin Foster? Well, he's in a bit of a lonely 9th place at the moment. He's nowhere near anybody in front, but the RPMS SimSport driver will be happy that he's not under any pressure from any AMs behind. Although Jonas Wenzel, who started all the way down in 10th place in class, minus a front bumper, that's drag reduction here. He'll be hoping, or weight reduction, but it'll be drag introduction as he comes around the circuit. Well, right now, he'll be hoping just to get this together, because Mark Peza is chasing him down, and I believe, unless I'm mistaken, the South African driver is on course for what will be one of his best results of the season if he pulls this off, because I do not believe he's picked up a podium this season. Now, to be fair, I'm going to double check that using the statistics chart we do have available to us, but Peza right now has had a couple of top 5s, but has he ever had a top 3 this season? And our answer is going to be, as he heads onwards, no. His best result is only 1 top 5. It was a 5th place in the sprint at Okayama. So Mark Peza right now is on course for his best ever performance in the AM class, and it would be a 3rd place, and he'll be absolutely ecstatic about that if he can pull this off. And right now he's enjoying battling with Miles Owens, albeit there are 2 different classes. They are not both AMs. Owens is the pro, who's on the left-hand side of the screen. Now the right as they come over the hill, and Peza, the AM, is on the left. The AM driver now up the inside. He will take that 14th place, and he will do it with aplomb. Lovely work there from the number 99 driver. As he comes down the hill now, a bit more to come perhaps, as we look back to the front, and we do have a slowdown being served by Nick Clivins. They go 3 wide into turn number 2. Clivins right now, I think he ran wide out of turn number 1, gained a lot of time, and now he's having to give the time back. Kieran Sharp, meanwhile, got the move done on Craig Twadok for a brief moment, and now moves back into the lead, albeit 1.5 minutes left on the clock, so it'll be this lap plus 1 more, and Sharp, I think, might have just timed this a little bit, because Andrew Pike now is fighting with Twadok, and the Sim Racing Collective Esports 57 in the all-orange livery this time around. I think he will be feeling as though this could be a very good opportunity for him to try and steal away 2nd place and help his teammates out to a degree. And well, we do know that both Andrew and Kieran, they've worked very closely together in other series, where it be hosted by the Sim Racing Collective or other communities. They are very strong teammates when they put their minds together, and as they come across that timeline, it's going to be 1 more lap, but can Kieran Sharp hold on to the lead and keep his dreams of the Pro Championship alive, or will Twadok or Pike try and snap it away from him? Clemens also a big factor here, and then 3 seconds to Bart Raven. Well, one thing for certain, we've got a slowdown for Clemens. That will put him out of this fight for now. It's now down to 3, potentially, as they make their way towards turn 2. Clemens is staying with them for now. I think he's trying to be as tactical as possible. He wants to stay close and just very gradually try and burn off the slowdown where he can. But Kieran Sharp right now is running away. He's doing everything he can and to open up that gap as they make the way out of turns 2 and 3, and up towards turn 5 they go. Jochen in corner awaits, and as they does, it's a nice half a second gap here for Sharp. This is exactly what he needs, as meanwhile Pike having to go defensive there for Clibbins, who looks around his outside. Well, down the hill they come, and as they do, one more turn to go. The checker flag awaits, and for Kieran Sharp, well, he needs wins, and this is a good step along the way. It's going to be sprint race victory for Kieran Sharp for the Sim Racing Collective Esports overall and in pro. Head of Craig Twardock, who once again is thwarted from a win, but takes second. Andrew Pike is third, Nick Clemens fourth. Francesco Petalin in the end fights his way through to 5th on the final lap, ahead of Tom Derrickson and William Chandler. Bart Raven rounds off your top 8. Martin Foster takes the AM victory and extends his championship lead for RPMS Simsport as he celebrates there heading up towards turn 1. Eugenio Polici came through for 21st to a 10th place finish. Well done to him, ahead of Sam Smith. Clive Bourne is 12th, and then Janos Wenzel is your runner-up in AM with a brilliant effort. Mark Peza takes his first podium in AM. Well done to the privateer, and it'll be Miles Owens who rounds off your top 15 ahead of Mav Gardner, with Alan McCain in 17th place ahead of Lenny Hansen and Paul Sims, with Matt Smith completing your top 20, and outside that top 20 Luke Smith crossed the line with a great 8th place finish in the AM class with good points banked by him. Valerio Tedeschi will take 22nd, and he will be your last finisher, ladies and gentlemen, as he crosses the line there. Well, goodness me, what a race number 1, and indeed kept us guessing all the way through, particularly at the front of the field. But from a race that kept us guessing now, well, I guess we do have 3 minutes and some rain is falling as we take a look at the race results and get ready for your second and final race of the day. And here are those results, of course, from our first race here at the Red Bull Ring. So as we can see, after 15 minutes of racing in race number 11 of the championship, what a race it was. Kieran Sharp took victory at the sprint of the Red Bull Ring for the Sim Racing Collective MX-5 Championship for 2025, hosted on iRacing, and the Sim Racing Collective Esports driver taking that win by 3 tenths over MSA Racing's Craig Twardock. Twardock, your runner-up there, and I think he will be gutted, and he'll feel as though it's going to be one of those situations whereby he's just not been fortunate to be in the right place at the right time to take the win, but he will now make it an extension. Indeed, I think at this point he's going to have the most second places of anybody in the pro class if this continues. And indeed, he now upgrades himself to become a 4th second place finisher. And in fact, funny enough, he's had 3 second place in the sprint and only 1 in the feature. He does seem to make a lot out of these sprint races. Andrew Pike finished 3rd at the Sim Racing Collective Esports just behind, and then we will see off of them, or it was in 4th, Nick Clemens at iRace Esports, the number 13 driver, being very smart with serving his slowdowns and staying in the hunt to the very end. Francesco Pitalin took 5th place there, as I mumble my words, and well, good effort from him to make his way through into 5th, ahead of Tom Derrickson with the Sim Racing Collective Esports driver in 6th place when it all was said and done. Then we have William Chandler for Cracked Racing ahead of teammate Bart Raven, with Martin Foster, your AM winner, finishing in 9th. The RPMS Simsport driver there was just ahead of the 99 on the road, but I do believe the number 99 has been demoted as a result of a slowdown that was not served by the end of the race, and therefore we have seen the number 99 car drop all the way down the order, and well, we'll give you an update on where they were classified very shortly, ladies and gentlemen, because we see Eugenio Polici was 10th at Absolute Motorsport Ace ahead of Sam Smith, with the iRace Esports driver there in 11th place, and then Clive Bourne finished 12th for Big Pig Racing by VRS. It was a second place spot in the AM class for Janos Wenzel, the privateer, and he'll be very happy with that because that moves him a lot closer to finishing 3rd, if not 2nd in the AM class championship, and that was ahead of Miles Owens, with Mav Garner completing the AM podium finishes there, 15th place overall for the Sim Racing Collective Esports driver. Alan McCain took 16th ahead of Lenny Hansen, with Paul Sims being followed up by Matt Smith and Luke Smith to complete your finishing order. Sadly, Mark Pears there, you could see the confirmation he was your 3rd place finisher on the road, but due to the slowdown right at the end that he wasn't able to serve, he's been demoted all the way down to 22nd place and is your last lead lap finisher, just behind Valerio Tedeschi. We then saw a lap down to Daniel Moffat, 2 laps down to Thomas Martin, and also 2 laps down to Martin Arendel. So a frustrating race for some drivers and a better one for others. But without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, with that, and with the rain falling in full force, well, there's no nothing quite like a season finale, a final race at least, where we do have rain and changing conditions. So for the final time, ladies and gentlemen, let's make our way to the grid and see how it all concludes here at the Red Bull Ring, because it's time for the 30-minute feature. So as all of our drivers make their way onto the grid, this is how they'll line up for our season finale final race. Eugenio Pellicci, who finished in 10th place in race number 1, will start on pole position for race number 2, the Absolute Motorsport ACEF driver being rewarded for his hard efforts from 21st on the grid. Martin Foster, your AM winner in race number 1, gives himself the perfect opportunity to make it back-to-back wins to seal the deal with his championship crown by starting in 2nd. From the RPMS SimSport driver, it will then be Cracked Racing's Bart Raven who starts 3rd, with the Dutchman having a good opportunity to finish on the podium here in what has been quite some time, ahead of his teammate William Chandler. On row number 3, it's Tom Davidson for the Sim Racing Collective Esports, ahead of Francesco Petalin for Absolute Motorsport ACEF, and indeed the Absolute Motorsport ACEF team having a great chance here to try and make it a double podium for the team. Nick Lewin starts in 7th place for Iris Esports, ahead of fierce rival Andrew Pike, who completes your top 8. Outside of them, to complete your top 10, and indeed the full inversion of the finishing results from race number 1, is Craig Twardock, who starts 9th for MSA Racing, and Kieran Sharp, who starts from 10th for the Sim Racing Collective Esports, and knows he's got to get to the very top of the pile by the end of this one if he wants to steal that crown away from Jamie Nuttall. Starting on 11th, best of rest, it's Sam Smith for Iris Esports, who's just ahead of Clive Bourne for Big Peak Racing by VRS. Then we have on row at number 7, your run-up in the AM class from race 1. He starts in 13th, which is exactly where he finished. It'll be Janos Wenzel, who is joined in company by Miles Owens for Altura Esports. And then I have Mav Gardner for the Sim Racing Collective Esports, who starts in 15th place for TSRC, ahead of Alan McCain, with the RS Esports drive being followed up by Lenny Hansen for Bottle Job Racing, and Paul Sims, who completes your 9th row. The top 20 is rounded off by Matt Smith for Cracked Racing and Luke Smith for FD Racing, with 21st place going to Valerio Tedeschi, the privateer, head of Mark Peza. Then we do have Daniel Moffat and Thomas Martin completing your final full row of the grid. The Shadow Drake Racing driver there, 24th, and hoping for a happier race. And then last but not least, Martin Rendell with an absolute nightmare of what is a race at number 1, and he'll be hoping now that race number 2 is going to be much more straightforward, and there's plenty to watch out for. And in particular, keep your eyes out for that 23rd place starter, Daniel Moffat too, as Teckles does sim races, says the YouTube chat. And indeed, a very good point there. Mr. Moffat isn't going to be too happy about being a lap down in Heat 1. Indeed, he has had some very strong performances this season. We could expect him to try and cut his way through the order as quickly as possible. But the grid is set, ladies and gentlemen, and here we go for lights for the final time. It's 1, it's 2, it's 3, it's 4, it's 5. And it's lights out, away we go here in our final race of the season. 30 minutes, who will be our champions? It's all going to come down to this. The rain falls, the wet tyres are on most, slicks on some, and they all roar the way out towards turn number 1. And Eugenio Pellicci has the best start of everybody, but Martin Foster is there with him up the inside. Immediately goes Bart Raven. Foster remembers on the slicks, Raven goes round. Raven has immediately escorted himself out stage right. Car out in front, they're all spinning around here. It's the pirouette at the Red Bull Ring. That's Petalin, he goes right back into the sea of cars, and in the end they all manage to avoid collecting everybody, but 4 or 5 cars have been collected. That's Petalin, that's Smith, that's Chandler and McCain. They've all been caught out, and Raven now tries to pick up the pieces, and Sims was in that as well. And my good lord, we're going to need to get a replay or 2 of that, because that is absolutely balmy what's happened there. And well, it's all gone wrong for some, it's all gone right for others. And immediately, we do have a safety car there for the huge incident, and that will slow things down. It will cause everybody to race up to the start-finish line, and then we will see the racing pace neutralised for at least 2 laps, as those who are in trouble, they will get their cars towed and repaired, and they will join the back of the pack. And indeed, for the uninitiated, these... Oh, no! That's Foster! Foster's round, he spins, everyone takes evasive action. They all did very well to take evasive action. Lenny Hansen goes round as well. I don't think the slick was the right call. The wet tyre was the right call, and those on slicks right now are struggling, and this safety car is going to massively impact the slick runners. They're going to lose all their tyre temperature, and they won't be able to last out there with this rain falling. I think right now, if you're a slick runner, you've got to get into the pits. If you've passed the pit lane, your race may be in arrears unless you can get round on this safety car lap, which is going to be the equivalent of trying to swim around the Red Bull Ring for the best part of 1.45 miles, and then get it into the pits. You'll be at the back of the field, and then you've got to go racing from there. So Sunday was looking to be very straightforward for Martin Foster. It's anything but that, but do keep in mind that with Daniel Moffat finishing right towards the back in race number 1 right now, he will need Foster to essentially finish last, if not retire from the race, and Moffat will need a win. And, well, the maths from there, it may be very close. It may not be enough even then, but we don't know. We're not going to say it's not enough. Everything we talk about championship standings-wise is provisional, subject to it being confirmed by the race officials, because at the end of the day, they're the ones who can do the mathematics. We're here to try and do the maths and also cover all the racing in one go. But as Moffat crawls around right now, everybody will. It's been an absolutely crazy opening lap, and well, as we do get the confirmation they are behind the BMW M2 CS Racing safety car, well, let's take a look back at everything that happened right at the start, including into turn number 1. And here's the replay. So it was a good launch for Eugenio Pollici. Absolutely nailed the launch off the line here. You'll see as they drop the hammer and go, but it will spin further on back. But Pollici just pulled away very nicely. Immediately coming across there was your AM pole sitter, doing quite a bit of work, Martin Foster, to make sure that Raven didn't get ahead. And this is where all the madness began, because Bart Raven, as he made his way into the corner, car came loose there. I think a bit of a rub alongside Foster, but no malice there. That was just simply a rub. It wasn't contact that sent him round. Then we had a big spin there for Francesco Petelin, and as the field all came through, it really was head down and just survived there, I think, for so many drivers. What exactly happened? Can we look to a blimp camera view of this? We can. It's a bit foggy, however. That's not going to be the most helpful view, to be fair. But what you'll see is Petelin, he gets turned. And as he does so, well, he collects the car that turned him. He ends up being absolutely bruised and battered around. And the field comes roaring on through. And it all goes wrong for so many of them. Can we get a better perspective of what happened to William Chandler? Was he in this? I think he was. There was Petelin. Petelin hit the sausage curb, came back onto the collision course with Chandler. They both went onto that same line at the same time. That explains how Petelin and Chandler got caught together, and then everybody else was a casualty of the domino effect as they made the way in towards the scene of the incident. And that explains what happened right at the start there. But let's come back to your live circuit side racing. And as we do, we are still behind the safety car. We're going to get at least one more lap behind it. It seems like the safety car is going one extra lap, and I believe that might be just to give an opportunity for all the drivers to complete their time in the pits of the repair work there, and also for clearing the debris at turns 1 into 2. But next time around, the lights are off. So at the end of this lap, we are only going to have 3 laps behind the safety car. We will be green flag racing, but everybody minus one driver has gone to the wet tyre. The one who hasn't, here he is, Tom Davidson. He's a madman, I can tell you that. And well, as he makes his way up towards turn number 2, he is shaking the front of that car out as much as possible right now. He's trying to pump some heat into those front tyres and also some of the rear tyres as well. Remember, these Mazda MX-5s, front engine, rear wheel drive. So all the power goes through the rear wheels, the turnings on the front wheels, and the weights towards the front as well. And right now, he will want as much heat as possible. I think he will be trying to ride on the back of Nick Clemens' car and pretty much saying to Clemens and Pollici, can you get the safety car to go faster, please? I need temperature. There's no rain falling at the moment, or if it is, it's so minuscule we can't pick it up on the cameras. But this circuit is definitely a wet circuit, and Davidson right now has thrown caution to the wind and said, if the circuit starts to dry up, I should just absolutely bolt away from everybody else. But here we go then. Safety car is away, and it's Eugenio Pollici to take us green flag racing. And now to the final corner he goes, and Pollici there runs all the way out wide in order to pick up as much speed as possible, and we are green again for 25 minutes of remaining racing, and across that line he goes, and as Pollici does, well, right now you can see Clemens and Davidson right there with him. It does seem as though Davidson's been able to find the heat that's needed, but we'll see how exactly that plays out for him as he runs a bit cautiously wide there. Andrew Pickup is inside, and well, it does look as though they've put the livery back on the car there for this second race today, which is great to see. And here's that braking zone he goes for turn number 2. There's Twilight looking for a move as well. Where is, however, Kieran Sharp in all this? Hold up, no! Well, hold the phone on that one, because that's Eugenio Pollici. He goes into the gravel there, coming out of turns 2 into 3. And, well, it seems like a mistake there, a very easy one to make. But, oh my good lord, it's Andrew Pike! Pike's had it go well, they all come into the scene of incident. It's a big crunch and shunt there, as Pike in the end went sideways, and I can imagine Davidson's been caught up as well. Yes, he has. Did the two of them coming together, because Davidson's car right now, it is struggling. That car is heavily damaged. Well, that's going to have to go to the pit lane. There is no way that's carrying on racing. I think the suspension has gone on the side of that car, and with it a lot of bodywork as well is trailing right now, and that's why it's bringing together a little bit of what is a sheet of water alongside it. But meanwhile, at the front of the field, in all the madness, and since the restart, Craig Twardot now leads, and he leads with Nick Clemens close behind, and then it's a 2-second gap to the Cadbury Cream Egg Big Pig Racing by VRS machine of Clive Bourne. The 07 driver here, he survived it all, the madness and everything between. And right now, he'll be hoping they can bring on home this podium. Behind, you've then got 4 AM drivers here. Mav Garner's your leading AM driver, with Daniel Moffat, who started 24th on this grid. He has made his way all the way up into 5th place. Can you believe it? Moffat has made his way all the way through that order, and he survived it just by being on the right tyre and not getting caught up in any of the carnage. Mark Pezza as well. He started at the back of the field after what was that post-race time penalty. He's in 3rd, but he's under pressure in the AM class from Martin Rendell. Rendell looking around the outside after a dismal race number 1, but he goes a bit deep, and Rendell right now almost escorts himself out into the shadow realm with turn number 5, but doesn't quite end up there as Bart Raven goes up his inside. So does Kieran Sharp, and the question we had was, where is Kieran Sharp? There he is. So he was languishing back in 9th place for some time, and now he's decided to start moving forward. I think Sharp's been taking it easy in respect to the fact that this race could be one of endurance here. It's only 30 minutes in length, but it's just enduring these conditions. He battles side by side with Pezza in towards the opening corner. 2 wide they enter, 2 wide they exit. He's going to be on the inside here, missing the front bumper. I think he lost that front bumper as a result of the contact we had from turns 3 through to 5 on the previous lap. But right now, Sharp is still fighting there. And he knows he needs a few more places. He takes a lot of apex curve. The rear of the car slides loose. And those apex curves really treacherous in these wet conditions. And indeed, it's the fact that one side of the car grips up, the other does not. And touching those curves, they help you rotate the car through the corner. But the wetter they are, the more rotation they provide immediately. And really, you start to dance the car into those apexes. And it becomes so tricky to control. We do have 2 slowdowns for Nick Clemens and Craig Twardock at the very front of the field. We didn't catch it on camera, but it seems that they both escorted each other off at Jochen Rindt corner, or Tertiary A1 corner, and I couldn't quite see what happened there from my commentary booth window. But right now, they're going to slow down, and they will be forced backwards towards Clive Bourne. And as we look to Martin Foster here, AM Championship leader. Well, right now, if things were to end as they currently stand, we believe he would be your AM champion because of the fact Daniel Moffat is only 3rd in the AM class, and Foster right now would gain good enough total of points here to make sure it's mathematically impossible for Moffat to potentially overturn the outcome. In towards turn 1 they go, and William Chandler right behind him, and I think Foster just wants to ride with the cars in front of him here. He doesn't want any drama if he can help it. But speaking of drama, well, we did have that huge incident earlier, and that was after the restart, and we take a look back at what happened, and this firstly was Eugenio Pollicci from the lead of the race getting it all wrong at turn number 2. Was he came on down there, too much curb, and got the power down, and the rear of the car just slid loose, and Pollicci having a very long trip through the gravel to rejoin the circuit. But then what happened afterwards? This was the Davidson incident. Now, this was Tom Davidson into lead. Contact there with the iRacing Esports car that came backwards across, but thankfully, well, it managed to escape, but not. In fact, that wasn't Davidson being contacted. My apologies. That was Andrew Pike being collected alongside Nick Clemens. So they made the contact together, and Tom Davidson just came into the scene of the incident and got caught up in it all. Here was the on-board from Davidson, and now you'll see Clemens touches Pike. That sends Pike sideways. Pike now rolls backwards, and Davidson's got nowhere to go. And Davidson in the end just goes straight to the gravel with a damaged car, and it was an absolute nightmare. And Kieran Sharp also involved in that. Where was he in all of that is the question. And this was Kieran Sharp from his gyro camera. So he's right behind Davidson and Twardock here. Well, here we go. And in the end, Kieran Sharp, that's how he lost his front bumper, just hitting Davidson on the rear as Pike came back across. And well, so there you have Clive Bourne coming to the side of Sharp, helping the front bumper leave its car. Nightmare moment from so many. And Miles Owens, well, he then came into the scene of the incident in a secondary pack of cars, and the Altura Esports driver just ended up being collected here. He tried to take evasive action, tried to go to the grass on the inside, only to find that Andrew Pike was parked there waiting. And what a nightmare moment. And that was a total to the pits there for Miles Owens, given the damage he'd picked up. But back to your race to become, and as we do, hold up, that's Mav Gardner going sideways, and he's, look, well, my good lord, I'm absolutely speechless, ladies and gents, but every time we come back, it's another spin, or somebody's ended it getting all wrong, and will Mav Gardner there spin out the final quarter? Was he helped on that journey? We don't know, but what we do know is he goes all the way down to 7th place in AM and 17th overall, as Martin Foster has left him, and indeed, right now, so many drivers are having it go wrong and not right. Matt Smith, meanwhile, with the cracked racing driver here, I think with the repair work that was done to the car after the opening instance of this race, the cracked racing driver now will feel as though this is a good opportunity to gradually stretch his legs and move forward. We will see what he's going to be able to do here, because he heads in towards turn number 2. towards that right-hander, and well, that is going to be put a lap over Davidson, but he outbrakes himself there and almost has Davidson pinch his bum as they roar the way on through. Such the way how close they get, but as they come through 2 and in towards 3, well, Lenny Hansen right now, well, it's going to be just follow Hansen as much as he possibly can. But from them, come back to a very ferocious mid-pack here, and in good time because Thomas Martin has just picked up a slow-down penalty, which is very quickly served there on the outside of the circuit, so Martin's not going to be too upset about that. But Sam Smith trying to move his way forward in towards 10th place. He does so. Andrew Pike comes with him, and just in front there, that is Valerio Tedeschi. Well, that's not Valerio Tedeschi. That is Francesco Pettelin trying to unlap himself at the head of this pack and trying to run away from it. Now, Pettelin is a lap down in 21st place. There he is, and well, the absolute motorsport ace driver right now. I think he's going to try to lead this pack round. Will he be able to do so? Not sure. As meanwhile, his teammate Eugenio Pellicci up the inside of Thomas Martin there and says to Martin, look, I'm coming through, whether you like it or not. Immediately at the inside. And goes all in for the move, and it works out for him, at least for now, as they come on out. But as they do, well, side by side, these two drivers roar their way up towards what will be turn number 5 this time, in towards that break as they go, and Pellicci here, well, there or thereabouts, and then we do have Nick Clemens up the inside of Martin. Well, I do believe that I've referred to Thomas Martin's car as Gareth Ronda earlier on. I do apologise there. 2 similar coloured livery machines, and right now, well, it does seem as though Gareth Ronda not here, but meanwhile, Thomas Martin very much here. There's even more slowdown penalties to be served by a whole host of drivers. Smith, Pike, Wenzel, also Clemens and Martin all picking them up coming out the last couple of quarters. That is not helpful. But meanwhile, what is very helpful for one driver at the very front, he's in complete control right now, is Craig Twardock. He's not even at the halfway point of this race, but he is leading by 6 seconds at the moment over Kieran Sharp. Where is Kieran Sharp, you have to wonder? Well, he's not in camera shot, and then suddenly there he is. He is being chased by a very fast charging Mark Pazer, who I don't believe right now, well, I can't believe I can say this, he's your AM leader. He's up into 3rd. He has found his way past all the chaos, all the carnage, and all the disappointment of race number 1 to make his way all the way from 22nd to 3rd place. The number 99 driver here, right now, if he pulls this off, this could be what would be the AM win of the season. He may not be AM champion, but this is a champion's drive, no doubt about it, as he's not given up all the way through, and he is making this wet tyre absolutely work. But Raven behind him is playing the game of follow the leader at this point. And well, I think he'll be moving as quickly as he can in quick succession as they roar the way up towards what will be turns 1 and 2. And these drivers right now definitely, I think, try to settle in for the long haul. And understandably, it is going to be a race of survival because the rain may have stopped falling and this circuit is drying a little bit, but that has its own hazards in turn, which is if you suddenly feel as though the circuit's getting a bit drier and the lap times are improving, you naturally want to push yourself a little bit harder. But do that, and you very quickly lure yourself into a mistake and a false dawn of a lap, as Daniel Moffat right now sees the sun behind him, but goes very wide out of turn number 3. That on his right is going to be 3rd place AM driver Martin Rendell he's fighting with, and then here is Francesco Pettelin right behind, who's saying to the pair of them, can you both get a move on? Because I'm a lot faster than you. But Pettelin's a lap down. He looks up the inside, and that's trying to bleed some speed. We've got a car parked up at the side of the road there. Not quite sure who that was, but they've parked precariously, but they managed to avoid everybody. But as we do see Daniel Moffat holding on for now, well, they all come through the corner, and suddenly Martin Rendell is shuffled down the order like a pack of cards. My good lord, number 33 driver there has just lost 3 places, or at least 4 in this pack, but 3 in terms of positions overall. And right now he'll be absolutely furious because Janos Wenzel is coming up his inside. Wenzel goes to 3rd place in the AM class, and Rendell, through no fault of his own, just finds himself so far pushed down the order at this point, as it's going to be an off-track for Daniel Moffat. That's going to pull him backwards towards Rendell and Wenzel. So right now, Moffat can't make it quite right, even can't make the break. It's going to be a 2nd place in AM class. It's going to go down to the wire, and that's before you consider that also Thomas Martin and Martin Foster and Mav Garner are starting to close up on this very gradually. So they're going to get involved if this fighting continues. The intensity is absolutely reaching a melting point here, and well, it might melt away some of the rain with the heat of the racing, and Sam Smith at the very front of it as he heads over the crest and down in towards turn number 5. Right now, Smith definitely looking to be the driver that everybody wants to follow after what will be then Alan McCain just up the road. Now Smith takes a lot of apex there, cuts it too early. The car drifts outside, just about keeps it on circuit, as there's Andrew Pike now peeling to his inside. Left your pictures, Andrew Pike, because the headlights go on as well. Pike right now will try and take that place as quickly as he can. It does so, scoots round. Then it's going to be Eugenio Pellicci here up the inside. Goes for it. An absolute motorsport ace-lift driver there. Knows where he can put the pressure on and knows when he has to back off there. Good attempt from Pellicci, to be fair to him. And now his teammate's going to help him along there. And well, Francesco Pettine, I think they've decided how to work this, which is if he can't unlap himself, he might as well tuck him behind his teammate and give him a push every straight he can and try to show him the way to do things. But they come down for turns 2 and 3. Well, meanwhile, Daniel Moffat versus Martin Rendell. This is getting very tasty with William Chandler there for good effort as well. But Moffat right now will see Rendell and Martin behind him, and that's the fight for Ferdinand as Janos Vendel has started to bolt away. We jump on board with the Shadow Drake Racing driver, and Thomas Martin looking up the inside there, but there's going to be no way through it this time. He's just going to have to wait. Got a slow down penalty. Turns the pits there for Daniel Moffat. Oh, that's interesting because I didn't see a black flag go up there, or alternatively a slowdown at least, but Moffat is into the pits. There must be a problem with the car, and if so, that is going to give the championship to Martin Foster. That will seal the deal if Moffat can't get the car repaired with whatever's wrong with it and get back out there. We will have to wait and see. And indeed, Moffat is parked up. He is stationary right now. The only thing I'm wondering is whether Moffat thinks that dry tyres are the way to go. Moffat has gone to the slicks. I can confirm as I look out the commentary booth window, Moffat has gone to slicks. He's going to gamble here. Moffat thinks there's more pace on the slick tyre and there could be a safety car perhaps that bunched the field up. He's going to go for it. No, he's got nothing to lose at this point other than places. The thing is, he needs to win this race overall, and he needs his rival Martin Foster to have a nightmare race, which Foster isn't quite in the realm of a nightmare at the moment. This is just a bad dream, this second race, for the RPMS SimSport driver. But we're cognizant of the fact if Moffat starts to charge through the order and potentially gets into the lead, Foster suddenly needs to move up a couple more places potentially. So it is all to play for in Am. But has Moffat left it too late to go to a slick tyre? That is the big question mark on this one. Well, coming back to the front of the field, there's no real tension here or worry for Craig Twardock, who looks very happy by himself. 4.8 seconds in the lead, and his first win will be the final race win of the season. That is going to be something he can pull this off. Kieran Sharp is the fastest driver on circuit. A 102.91 is lap he's just set, and indeed the fastest lap by a considerable margin, by the best part of half a second over anybody else's achievements in clear air. So Kieran Sharp is definitely charging at the moment. He's trying to close down that lead gap. He wants that win as much as humanly possible. We'll have to see if he can get there though, because he has not got long left. He's got 11 minutes plus the final lap to go, and Twardock right now seems to be very much in control of things, as meanwhile iRacing Esports starts to have a bit of a battle. That's Sam Smith being passed by Nick Clibbins. Smith on the left of your picture, out of the pack, and lets Clibbins go. I think respect to the fact that Clibbins at this point is the faster driver and also is trying to chase down what would be third place in the Pro Championship. So that's why he wants to give his teammate a run as Janos Vendel goes round and finds his way to the barrier, much like Mav Garner did earlier on. And well, the 3-1-3 driver grazes the barrier again for good measure, tries to get it fully turned around, and that's going to drop him from second place and all the way down to fifth. A nightmare moment there as Luke Smith runs on through, and I think that was Vendel and another driver get caught up for a brief moment. Hold up a second. Oh my good lord, that is Pellicci. That's Clibbins trying to get himself back up to speed. What exactly has happened between those two? Can we get a quick replay? Yes, we can is the answer. This was Pellicci versus Clibbins, and also Pettine. Pettine in the middle backs off. I think Pellicci turned in, not expecting Clibbins to be there because his teammate was there. And in the end, they ping-ponged off each other. The rest of the field came through as well, made some contact. But Pellicci there turned in, didn't expect Clibbins to be there, and suddenly the two came into contact. And their races will both be very quickly in the pit lane or crawling around on circuit, if not, as we come back to your live racing. And in good time as well, because we've got 2x2 coming for Jochen corner once again. It's Smith and Rendell is off into the pits there. Well, that is going to be your driver, Francesco Pettine, coming in, given the fact that he did end up in contact with his teammate as a result of that big incident in turn number 1. So as he heads on down, we'll most likely see him go onto a slick tyre as well if he thinks it's the right thing to do. Pellicci's into the pit lane as well. The damage he's picked up, that's no surprise. I wonder how long it'll be before we potentially see Clibbins defect into the pit lane. In fact, he's decided to stay out there despite the damage on the car, so he thinks it's not too bad. And well, that's definitely a very brave number 13 making its way around there right now. Looking a bit further up the road from him, William Chandler finds himself in the thick of a battle of pros and AMs, as it's Martin Rendell over the back of him, the AM second place driver, who has Thomas Martin for Shadow Jake Racing for close company. And well, for Thomas Martin as well, this could be a first podium of the season, because I do believe he's yet to notch a podium. I think he might have come close to a top 5 at one point. In fact, he's picked up 2 top 5s, both in sprint races in rounds 2 and 3, but he has yet to pick up a podium, let alone a win. So for Thomas Martin, this could feel quite special right now, because he is in 3rd place. He has got a 6-second gap to Mav Gardner, and well, he's trying to chase down second off the back of Martin Rendell. As into the pits goes Nick Clibbins. I suspect that's going to be for repair work to the car, but also it will be to put on a set of slick tyres. Now he's now not got anything to lose, given everything has played out in such a strange manner here in the final race of the season. But Clive Bourne there taking a cheeky peek up the inside of Sam Smith and tries to see if there's a doorway, and in the end Smith says there's no door available for you. Indeed, you have to wait behind, but Bourne now gets a much better run out of turn number 1, tucks up the inside, onto the brakes he goes, and Clive Bourne there makes it a very smooth move indeed. As Sam Smith now rejoins the running pack, and William Chandler and Martin Rendell stay with him as they roar the way down through turns 2 and 3. But wipers on there, that'll be for the spray off the back of the cars in front. That won't be for rain that's falling at the moment, most likely. Indeed, this race is absolute pandemonium at this point, and I can see there Teckles does sim racing saying slicks are still looking slow, and that's a very good spot, because we need to talk a little bit about lap times here. Here is Daniel Moffat, who's gone around in fact, and well, the slicks are looking even slower now when he's pointing in the wrong direction. But to be fair, as we see a car going out very wide there, that's the lead pack making the way on through. Indeed, right now Moffat is going to be even further down this race, now to the best hummer of what will be 2 laps down, I do believe. And well, his fastest lap since going to the slick tyre has been a mid 105. The leaders on wets, they're still doing 102s. And so indeed, the slick tyre right now does not seem to be coming into fruition. The wet tyre is the tyre to be on all the way to the very end of this race, with 7 minutes plus the final lap to go. But interestingly, Craig Twardock, gap halved to 3.4 seconds. There is Kieran Sharp. He is flying his Sharp. A 102.61 was his previous best, and indeed that is the fastest lap of the race. Twardock is now lapping in the 102s as well. However, Sharp is absolutely throwing everything at this. I can imagine in that car he's even getting his head down and rocking it back and forth to say, why won't you go faster? Because I think he's got the pace, a 102.570. Sharp is absolutely setting the timing tower alight at the moment. Can he get close enough here to try and take the win off of Twardock and potentially steal away the Pro Championship crown? Of course, we won't announce whether he is champion or not until we see the provisional standings after our interviews this evening. But right now, Sharp sees an opportunity here. He's going all in, and Twardock needs to try and make sure that Sharp does not get close enough, because otherwise his first win of the season may never come. But meanwhile, coming back to the fight here between Rendell, Smith and Chandler, that's Martin Rendell going around the outside of Sam Smith. Had a slowdown he was serving, and indeed very slow into turn number 1. I can imagine he was coming to the end of the slowdown time that he was allowed to take it within, and was worried there about going into what would be a stop and go penalty. And Chandler and Smith are side by side, coming down through 2 in towards 3, but Smith gets the position initially. So brilliant bit of defensive driving here for Smith. Knows exactly when to go back on the racing line versus when to play it too wide. And as they power the way along, Smith right now being pushed along a little bit there from Chandler. Chandler getting closer. Smith goes defensive here over into Jochen Ring corner. Peels back onto the racing line at the last possible moment. Sharp 102.39. This circuit is drying up. We are starting to see the pace come along. Tom Davidson as well into the high 102. So the slick tyre might suddenly be switching on if you've got enough heat in it. Davidson is definitely pumping heating into his tyres. This is definitely going to get interesting, because, well, I don't think, unless we see a safety car suddenly, the slicks are going to come to the top anywhere near before the end of this race. I think they'll have the pace, most certainly. What it could be an indicator of, conversely, ladies and gentlemen, may be the fact that the wet tyre now will start to overheat in the last couple of minutes, and protecting that tyre may now be important, keeping it alive for the last couple of laps, finding some patches of damp surface in order just to cool it down a little bit and make sure you've got some tyre left, because of course wet tyres, they're treaded like road tyres. When they're on a circuit that's drying and therefore they're overheating, you're very quickly burning away that treaded rubber. You turn that tyre into a slick. But Craig Twardock right now has got the call, which is to go faster. He sets a 102.13. Kieran Sharp, a 101.7 off camera, as that's 3 wide in towards Jochen Ring corner, and that's Chandler going through. Smith is coming into the pit lane because he has picked up a black flag for his misdemeanours, so he's going to make his way down. So it was William Chandler and Martin Rendell coming on past, and as well we do have Mav Gardner trying to get involved there. So we had a bit of an off for a driver just in the rear of the picture. I believe that might have been Luke Smith getting it wrong. No, in fact, excuse me, it was not. There is Luke Smith. As he makes his way onwards, he had a bit of an excursion at turn number 4, but he has brought things back together again. As he makes his way on down, well, we look from our 10th place AM driver here to your leader, who's coming up behind him. There's Craig Tardog, but look who is closing at a rapid rate of knots. Now 1.6 seconds is the gap, such as the speed he's carrying. There he is. Kieran Sharp is absolutely hauling here with now 4 laps to go by my recognition. A 102.496 for Tardog. For Sharp, a 101.642. That is almost a whole second. He has ripped out of Tardog's lead. At this rate, he's going to be there on the final 2 laps. And has Craig Tardog got a response? I don't think he has. Sharp now is in slipstream range. He is well in slipstream range. 1.5 seconds is the target. He's at 1.1 seconds now as he makes his way down through turn 2 in towards 3. He's bringing a couple of lap down drivers with him, but they all know not to play into this. Sharp right now wants this. He wants it so badly as he pushes onwards. And when I caught up with him in the build-up to today, he said he didn't know what his chances would be other than he needed to win everything here today to have a chance, and right now he is definitely going for it. And Tardog has a bit of traffic in front of him. That's Smith just in front. The FD Racing driver, be aware of the blue flags. It'll take his time, but Tardog hasn't got time to waste. He goes up the inside there, but that's going to send him out wide. That's going to send him very wide, and that's going to slow down there for Tardog and for Kieran Sharp. Right now, as Nick Clements gets it rolled behind, we'll come back to that in a moment. Well, right now, Kieran Sharp is definitely going to be on a mission here to go on the attack as we jump aboard the dashboard. Oh, the number 23 drives, he heads up the hill. Wipers wiping there in order to try and clear that dashboard as much as possible, give visibility through turn number 1 he comes. And right now, Kieran Sharp is absolutely pinpoint precise here. Lap after lap, he has been drilling 103s, then 102s, now 101s, and he is given a 101 crash course here on how to try and steal a win from a man who hasn't had one. But as he heads through turns 2, 3 and 4, we'll try it right now. The one thing we know for certain is he can make himself very wide if needed, and indeed that MSA, I almost said Porsche there, given he's running typical Porsche colours. The MSA MX-5 is not going to go down without a fight, surely. Well, we will see this lap plus 2 more as they bounce their way through turn number 5. Product runs a little bit wide again. Got to be careful because those track limit penalties will be gradually looming closer. Sharp goes one way, then the other. It's into the barrier for Sharp. It's over for Sharp in the chase of the lead. Surely it's all gone sideways. The light was at the end of the tunnel, but in the end it was a train, and it's hit so hard that Craig Tardog right now takes this lead into his own hands. He's 2 laps away from taking his first ever win of the season, and we're at the final win for Kieran Sharp. He's out of the barrier. The car's still okay to drive. Can he get it home for second place? We will see. Meanwhile, black flag for Mark Pazer, the AM leader, as it's spotted in the YouTube chat as well. Pazer comes in from the lead of the race due to track limits, I believe. Martin Rendell will suddenly take the lead of the class. And as he makes his way onwards, Sonny Thomas Martin moves up into second place. Mav Garner moves up into third. Well, I think the AM Championship ground is definitely going the way of Martin Foster of all this, given he will now be promoted to 4th place in the class, with Mark Pazer making his way on down pit lane. But it is absolute craziness here, or is it? Will Martin Foster may still be 5th by the time Pazer leaves the pit lane, but as they head up the hill, well, right now, I think for Foster that 5th place is going to be more than enough because Daniel Moffat's down in 8th. Meanwhile, from that, Tom Davidson's just got the fastest of everybody on a 101.34 on the slick tyre. So the slick has come alive, but it's too late. And here comes a final lap of the day and the final lap of the season. Craig Tardog heads it, and with 13.7 seconds, he right now is only a lap. He's only 1.45 miles from his first victory of the season. Can Tardog do it? Can he hold on for one more tour of the circuit here and not get it wrong? Where so many others have lost their heads when they've got it wrong, he has yet to get it wrong when he makes his way through turns 2, 3 and 4. And right now, he's not going to believe it as me. Well, but Raven goes up the inside of Sharp. Sharp falls to 3rd. I think that may give it to Nuttall, with Raven taking the 2nd place. If he can take it away from Sharp all the way to the finish, it's going to be a drag race between them, surely all the way. But I think Sharp's in a car that has seen much better days. And as we come back to our leader, well, he's had multiple 2nd places. He's been denied multiple times, including the sprint here today. But Craig Tardog, take a bow, good sir, for MSA Racing. You are a one-time winner this season in the final race of the championship. Pro and overall, what a drive. And in the end, despite it all, he survived. Bart Raven, meanwhile, will then be 14.5 seconds back, and he will take the runner-up spot here and returns to podium ways in the final race of the day. Kieran Sharp with third place for TSRC Esports. That may mean he's not done enough to take the Pro Championship of a Jamie Nuttall. We will see. Andrew Pike finishes in fourth place, and he survives it all with Alan McCain taking fifth just behind. And the iRacing Esports driver then seeing Clive Bourne for the Cadbury Cream Egg. Big Pig Racing by VRS team takes sixth. And Martin Rendell is your AM winner, taking the lead off of Mark Pazer on the penultimate lap, with Pazer taking a drive-through penalty for track limits. And Martin Rendell takes seventh and AM win ahead of William Chandler. Mav Garner somehow makes his way to second in the AM class. And Thomas Martin makes it his only podium of the season in AM for Shadow Drag Racing. What an effort from him. Sam Smith will take 11th. And Martin Foster with fourth place in AM takes the AM Championship title for RPMS Simsport. You can see there as he shakes it from side to side. He's over the moon. He's celebrated already. He had to be careful not to get caught up with any drivers. And then we will see Mark Pazer in the end. It will be a sad and solitary fifth place in the AM class. A frustrating end after leading the race for so long. But in the end, one too many track limits caught him out. And what an end to his race. He makes one around. He is on what will be his final lap here as classified. And well, ladies and gentlemen, my goodness, an absolutely crazy end to the race. There your lead lap finishers, and Tom Derriton in the end, well, car in the barrier there. I think he's gone straight on the slick tyre, but I think he will be a bit frustrated with the way the race has gone, given the slick tyre was only optimal in the last couple of minutes. But as Twildot makes his way down the pit lane, I do hope we get an opportunity to have a word with him after today, because I can imagine he will be absolutely jubilant when he gets out that car and he'll be screaming, I finally did it. I finally did it at the fifth time of asking. He takes his first win, and that may be enough to promote him to a third place finish of the championship when all is said and done. Bart Raven, that brilliant effort as well for second place, no doubt about it, as we do just wait for Mark Pazer to finish his race, and he has at the end. Well, with that, ladies and gentlemen, let's take a look at those race results subject to Eddie Stewart's inquiries. It was a crazy race, and I think Alan McCain's got himself lost somewhere on the GP loop. Let's go to the scenic view, and with it, take a look at those final results of the season. So as the results do get ready to come up on screen, and here they are, they're just taking a little bit of time, but finally they do arrive on the scene. We can see then, after an incredible 30 minutes, and indeed there were so many chapters in that race from start to finish, with the rain setting the tone, and well, I can see there indeed many will be saying the race needs another 5 minutes to keep things interesting, particularly with old wet tyres and very warmed up slicks. We can see Craig Twildok in the end, he kept his cool, he kept out of trouble, and he took an overall and pro win for MSA Racing by 15 seconds in the end over Bart Raven for Cracked Racing. Kieran Sharp, he charged, he hustled, he hunted, he did everything he could to chase down the leader, but in the end it wasn't enough, and a mistake going on to the final lap, coming out of the final corner before that lap, saw Sharp into the barrier and lose not just second, but also he fell into third, and with it, potentially lose his chance to take the Pro Championship. Behind the TSRC Esports driver, Andrew Pike, fourth there, a further 2 seconds behind, and it was a 7-second gap to Alan McCain, who completed your top 5 for iRacing Esports. In sixth, it was Clive Bourne for Big Pig Racing by VRS, ahead of Martin Rendell, and Rendell in the end, well, he only led the race on the last lap, but to be fair, that's what we need to do to win in AM, is lead the race when it matters most, and what an effort from him, the privateer ahead of Mav Gardner, run up in the AM class there for the Sim Racing Collective Esports, and picks up another great haul of points. Thomas Martin round off the AM podium there for Shadow Drag Racing, his first and only podium of the season in the class. A brilliant effort where he stayed out of trouble and just kept his head cool all the way through, with Sam Smith rounding off your top 10 there, the pro driver for iRacing Esports. Martin Foster with that fourth place added to his win in race number 1 in the AM class. Well, best of rest here, but now AM champion provisionally for RPMS Simsport, for a brilliant effort in this round and indeed all season. It was the first 17 seconds back to William Chandler, and then we did see in 13th, classified as a lap down, Mark Pazer, who lost it all with a drive-through penalty on the penultimate lap. Lenny Hansen finished in 14th for Bottle Job Racing ahead of Cracks Race's Sam Smith. And then outside the top 15, it was Nick Clewins, Eugenio Polici, Daniel Moffat, and round off that top 20, Tom Davidson, who went to the slicks, but it was way too late to go to them in the end to get the most out of them. And Janos Vivenzo round off your top 20. It was 3 laps down to the privateer of Valerio Tedeschi, 2 laps ahead of FD Racing's Luke Smith, who made it to the checker flag. And then we did see unfortunate retirements for Francesco Petalin, Paul Sims, and Miles Owens. Goodness me, ladies and gents, but what an incredible end to the race. And well, with that, it brings all of our racing to a close here, and the tarmac finally falls silent. But our broadcast doesn't quite fall silent just yet, because coming up in approximately 5 minutes' time, we'll be back with our final post-round interviews of the season. And Craig, if you are in that YouTube chat right now, which I do believe you may be, or at least you definitely do have some fans in there, including MCR 420, MCR, we are coming to you for an interview because we want to hear your thoughts of that race win, and indeed plenty of thoughts from other drivers as well. And hopefully we'll hear from perhaps our AM champion, our provisional AM champion of Martin Foster. But ladies and gentlemen, we'll be back shortly for those post-round interviews. Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, it is time for our post-round interviews after an incredible final race of the season. And we're going to kick off with a driver who's definitely had ups and downs this season, but he ends his season on a high, because joining me now is none other than Cracked Racing's Bart Raven. Bart, I mean, firstly, it's so great to have you back here and to what is podium ways once again in our final race of the season, but how do you feel after those two races? I mean, I bet you can't put it into words how it's all played out.
Honestly, no. Good evening, by the way. I can't. It's a roller coaster. I don't know what happened, to be honest, especially in the second race.
Oh, well, I think you summed it up perfectly there. A roller coaster. And speaking of roller coasters, I mean, you've had a bit of a roller coaster of a season when we look back at results. Season opener didn't quite go right. Round number 2, a fall for the 15th, so a great sprint, a difficult feature. The same in round number 3. Round number 4, a bit of consistency of a 9th and 8th. A fifth and 6th last time, so it's been getting better. And here today, you're looking very strong, at least in qualifying.
Yeah, well, yeah, that was my last qualifying lap was actually pretty good. I think last week and this week the rain kind of suits me, the light rain. And I just had weird races where I crash in turn 1 of lap 1, like today. And then, I crash, I spun, and then come back to a second place. Just, I don't know. It's just amazing.
Oh, 100%. It has been amazing. And just with regards to that, good qualifying lap then. And talking a little bit about race number 1. We saw everybody went, or most drivers went for the dry tyre. But it looked as though it was very difficult out there in the sprint to find grip on that dry tyre. But what was it like from your perspective?
No, honestly, I think in the first race, the dry tire was by far the best tire. I mean, it wasn't really hard at all, but I had a slowdown on the last lap. So I dropped some places in the end, or I could have been 6th or 5th or something. So I think the tires were fine.
I see. So unfortunately there were these slowdowns. And the Red Bull Ring, to be fair, not a circuit where you could get away with running wide. We saw several slowdowns. I think we had more slowdowns in the final race of the season than we have in every other race combined. I mean, pesky track limits then?
Definitely.
Oh, fair play. Well, the track limits may be pesky, but let's talk more about the feature race then. The rain, it came. Everyone on wets. You had a difficult start, shall we say, and it was all upwards from there.
Yeah, I mean, mate, I don't know what happened. I was like in 15th place, I think, after the safety car, and then from there on, people crashed. I think Sharpie had a crash with an already damaged car. I think because I think he had some wheel damage from the beginning. It was just mental, and then you had to keep it on track and avoid the small puddles that were there, not to steer too much. So it was great fun, to be honest, really.
Oh, 100%. Brilliant fun. And in all the madness, you managed to survive it all. What was your secret to keeping it on track?
Um, Slow down the car enough and then get the line right. It's not always that easy, but you have to get the line right on the exit and not be on the curbs too much because they were slippery as hell.
I see. Or fair play to you for doing such a great job with the driving. And I have to ask, the final lap, as you made your way onto it, you saw Kieran Sharp, of course, in the barrier. At what point did you realise that you suddenly recovered all the way back to second place?
Yeah, when I saw him, my mate on Discord said that he crashed. So I was like, oh, he already had damage. I was pretty sure. So I wasn't sure if there was another lap. So it could have been like not enough, you know. But then on the last lap, he didn't have to pace anymore. So it just was easy to pass. It was great to finish second, to be honest, because of the season I had, and it just these guys are so fast, all of them. So it's great, really.
Well, it's been absolutely great to have you out there, and provisionally you have finished 6th in the championship this season. A great effort on the whole. Can we expect you back for a future season of MX-5s if we were to host it here at the TSRC?
Definitely. I think this was the most enjoyable season so far that I did with TSRC. So the MX-5s are definitely a favorite.
Oh, Oh, fantastic, Bart. We'd love to see you on the grid again, I can tell you that. But just before we do let you go, is there anybody you'd like to give a shout out or a thank you to live on the broadcast?
I'd like to thank TSRC for putting this on, and the correct guys, of course, especially the ones that are in Barcelona right now. So, hello, guys, and I'll be back next season for sure.
Oh, brilliant. Well, with that, Bart, it's been an absolute pleasure having you join me in the interview room. A superb recovery drive in race number 2 to take a final podium of the season. We look forward to seeing you on the grid again in the near future. But until then, have a great rest of your evening.
You too, mate. Bye-bye.
So here and there, ladies and gentlemen, for a very happy Bart Raven. He can't quite make sense of how it all played out in that final freak race. Indeed, I think you could unpick it and we would be here for ages talking about how his race evolved from an absolute disaster start with a spin, which he doesn't even know it happened, to end up being behind the safety car and then gradually picking his way through the field, where the wet tyre was the better tyre compared to the slick in race number 1. And talking there about the way he managed to survive and keep his cool out on the circuit and enjoying the race in this season in the bigger picture. And indeed, a 6th place finish in the championship in the end on 140 points in the pro class. A brilliant effort there from the Cracks Racing driver. And well, I can tell you one thing, if he's back on the grid once again for another great run of MX-5 racing, I wouldn't be surprised if a top 5 is going to be his target, if not a top 3. But ladies and gentlemen, we've got plenty of interviews coming up this evening. And let's get to our second interview, who is only about 30 seconds away. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we now come to our second interview of the evening, and joining me now is none other than Martin Rendell, your winner in the AM class in the feature race after a difficult sprint. Martin, we've seen a lot of miracle drives from drivers up and down the grid this season, and today has been no stranger to those. But how does it feel for yourself to take that victory in the feature?
Oh, I think, yeah, very unexpected. I think, yeah, it was a stressful race.
Oh, indeed. Stressful is one way to describe it. I mean, it was absolutely crazy out there. And for yourself, I mean, over the course of this season, it has been a challenging season, to say the least, for many an AM driver, but particularly yourself, in the fact that missed a couple of rounds, and when you were on the grid, podiums and top 5s were always the target, but they didn't always come that way.
Yeah, I think I signed up to the series and then immediately then found I couldn't attend a couple, which is a bit of a shame. But I think it has always been close, but not quite. I think a few too many unforced errors for me this season in various races, just kind of silly spins. But I think that finally this week, after an appalling sprint race this evening, managed to keep it together in the final race.
Oh, 100%. And even before getting to that sprint race, I mean, from a qualifying perspective, 16th overall, 6th in class, did qualifying just not come together for yourself? Because given your pace, perhaps we would expect you a bit further up.
Yeah, I think my usual problem is kind of setting a bank lap or something like that in qualifying, and then getting a bit too excited when my times start coming to me, and usually on the last corner goes wrong, and then that's that fast lap gone. So I kind of never quite get where I should be, I don't think, in the qualifying, but have to then work hard in the race.
Well, you definitely have a hard work ethic, I can tell you that. Race number 1, however, a bit of a challenging one. We'll just briefly touch upon it. What was it like out there conditions-wise? Because we've just heard from Bart, who was saying that it actually felt relatively fine, but it did seem as though everyone seemed to be struggling a little bit on the slick.
Yeah, I think the first race actually, I managed to do a false start, which then put me to the back with a drive-through, and then when I went to the pits, I accidentally changed onto half wets due to a bit of a program kind of error in the controls, and so I was then driving around slightly lopsided. I managed to hold it together, which I was surprised by, but not particularly fast. But certainly, yeah, it wasn't as bad as I think. Certainly last week there was a lot less grip.
Oh, fair play. Well, a bit of a program error there with regards to the choice of tyre, perhaps. But the flip side of the coin, race number 2 then, nothing to lose.
No, I think I was incredibly cautious off the start line. I was definitely not wanting to make another full start, and so I just took it steady, waited for the pack to just back up on T1, and then slowly pick my way through, and yeah, I just kind of seeing different drivers tumbling off in front of me. I think it wasn't as slippery as last week, but it definitely wasn't kind of plain sailing. And I think I'm not. I think I could hear my engineer telling me some drivers would try changing to dries, and I was thinking kind of I can see why because of the drying line forming, but I'm gonna kind of do the simple thing. I'm gonna stay with what I've got. I thought I go with what I know, and yeah, who knows? Maybe my wets will turn to slicks and from wearing out, and I'll see what happens then.
Well, definitely a very smart call to stay on the wet tyre all the way through. Now, as you went through that race, obviously you were one of a limited number of drivers who seemed to stay all out of trouble and just keep putting in the laps, or at least from what we saw on the camera, to be fair. And if you did have a spin, you're welcome to admit it, but we didn't catch it. But more importantly, final couple of laps, you're moving into the podium spots, and then suddenly, final lap comes around, and the leader's in the pit lane. I mean, at what point did you realise you are now leading the race?
Yeah, I saw. I think it was Mark pulling off, and I at that point, it was some case of what is there any more AMs in front of me? And had a quick running up the standings board. And okay, now time to concentrate, because I had Thomas behind me, kind of keeping me keen, and just had to just kind of play it safe and not do anything silly. And yeah, kind of. I was quite happy with, compared to some of my races this season, quite happy with to keep it on the track and take it through.
Well, in the end, you absolutely nailed it to bring on home your one and only win of the season. I do believe what is only one of a very clutch number of podiums that you've been able to achieve, but a great way to end the season. I mean, does that mean if we were to hold a second season, we can expect you back and perhaps chase even more wins?
Yes, definitely. Yeah, I think it's been a really good season, and yeah, thanks to Kieran and everyone for organising it and for your commentary as well, because I think it's been really enjoyable. The Mazda is depending on what car we use next time, but certainly the Mazda is a real fun, real good close racing. But yeah, very excited to kind of try the next season.
Oh, brilliant. Well, just before we do let you go, Martin, one last question as always. Is there anybody you'd like to give a shout out or a thank you to live on the broadcast?
I think thanks to everyone for racing. Congrats to Martin for the AM win, and yeah, kind of yeah. No, thanks very much. In fact, shout out to my wife Sarah, who's been watching me kind of through the thick and thin.
Oh, brilliant. Well, hello to Sarah in the YouTube chat if she is there at the moment. But Martin, with that, congratulations on your win in the season finale in the AM class. A well-deserved one at that. Rejoice, enjoy the moment, savour it, and we'll hopefully see you on the grid again in the near future.
Brilliant. Thanks very much. Cheers, Paul.
So here and there, ladies and gentlemen, from Martin Rendell, the privateer, who today openly admitting that this season it's been a bit of a challenging one, missing certain rounds, but in the end being able to make a good number of them, making 4 out of 6 rounds, so therefore 2/3, and that is a pass on my grade card, and indeed delivering some absolutely brilliant action, but expecting a bit more about himself perhaps, given the fact he's only able to put one podium together and a couple of top 5s, and he's definitely had podium pace throughout the season. But here today, qualifying a good banker lap, but then a bit too eager with the track in the other 2 laps and therefore couldn't quite get it together. And in the sprint race, it all went wrong before it really started. And therefore, it all went backwards and in the end had to settle for a very difficult and quite miserable result. But it didn't demotivate him. If anything, it only pushed him a little bit further. And in the feature race, we got everything absolutely together. Stayed out of trouble, delivered lap after lap, and well, at least didn't have a spin on camera as far as we're aware. And in the end, took the victory by just making sure not to have to visit the pits for penalties, nor having to go around for a spin. And that's how you get a win if your name is Martin Rendell. A brilliant effort, and we look forward to him being back on the grid in the near future, particularly if it's MX-5s, so he's definitely looking very quick. And if he can put a good campaign together, I wouldn't be surprised if next time around he'll be chasing down the championship. But we've got some more interviews to come, ladies and gentlemen, and well, when we do come back, we're going to be hearing from a very, very happy individual. You can probably guess who it's going to be. But hold the phone, we'll be back in 10 seconds. And Well, ladies and gentlemen, we could only come to this person next. That's right, none other than Craig Twardock is now joining me in the interview. Craig, you've finally done it. You've finally taken an overall win, and you've taken it in the final race of the season, perhaps the hardest race of the season as well. How does that make you feel, sir?
It feels good. I've got to admit, I was panicking all race, to be honest. I saw the gap and I was just watching it all the time go down and down. I thought I was going to lose it at the end, but it's a bit unfortunate for Sharpie, what happened with him, but I am buzzing with a win.
Well, to be fair, you deserve it, Craig, because that was an incredible conclusion, an incredible drive as well. And, well, if one driver was going to lose it, it would either be you or Kieran, but it was Kieran, not yourself. Dialing it back, however, let's start off. Now, for context for ladies and gentlemen at home, this man started off the season, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, Craig, when we spoke to you earlier on, just targeting a podium.
I just wanted top 5 at first, and
That
then
was it.
managed to get the podium, and then I got the win.
Oh, indeed. So started off with top 5, then hit a podium and wanted to push it a little bit higher. But you've been chasing a win for a good portion of this season, and you've been denied, I would say, at least 3 times that potential win. But starting off on the right foot today with pole position in qualifying, how'd you manage it?
To be honest, I don't know. I wasn't expecting it because I invalidated my first one. It was a bit slippery, and then I just managed to hook a lap together, to be honest. Ran a bit wide on a couple of corners, and it seems to help. So, yeah, a bit lucky, but I'll take it.
Well, they say there's always a little bit of luck in every achievement in life, and, well, may have been some luck, but also a very good lap to put you on pole. And in going racing, I mean, race number 1, it did seem as though it was primarily going to be between yourself and Kieran Sharp. For a good portion of it, you were chasing rather than leading, and towards the end, it looked as though you wanted a snap at the lead, but Kieran just had a little bit too much.
I did. I wanted to go for it. I got my elbows out a bit, probably a bit too much, especially with Clibbons. Seems like we both went off at turn 1. But yeah, I gave it a good go, but I couldn't do it that race.
Well,
But we had the second.
had to settle for second, and then going into race number 2, I mean, when you saw the rain was falling, just on your perspective, I mean, did you feel as though that's good news, that's bad news, or just wait and see? Because I can imagine after race number 1, it was really a situation right now that for many, all hell's going to break loose.
To be honest, I wasn't sure what tyres to go with, but I was thinking dryers at first. I'm glad I changed my mind, because that wouldn't have gone down well. I saw a couple at the front that started on dryers, and they seemed to slip backwards quite quick. So I don't mind the rain. It seems to be doing me well at the moment. It's only my second wet race on the game, so we're learning it. We're getting there. Seems to be paying off, so.
Oh, most definitely. I mean, if that's only your second wet race on the simulator, it's all paying off right now, and I can only imagine what your third race on the simulator in wet conditions is going to be. As that race went on, we saw everybody behind was really making mistakes, losing it. We did, of course, have the safety car period as well, which definitely served to bring everyone together and then cause you have to build that lead. But at one point, leading by 6 seconds, was there a moment perhaps where you thought to yourself, there's no way they're going to catch me now? Or was it constantly foot down, head down, I've got to keep that gap?
No, do you know what? I should have had that mentality, but instead I was just looking at the gap and I was thinking too much about it, and I didn't want to over push the car. I was more panicking about that, and it just seems to be slowing me down. So that's a learning thing for the next race, just to not overthink and just plough through, just put the laps in.
Fair play
'Cause
to
I
you.
probably could have gone quicker, I think, if I weren't thinking about it so much.
That's a good point, to be fair. And I think a lesson that many will learn from. I mean, I'll put my hand up and say I'm guilty of it as well, spending more time looking at the time in black box than I am at my own lines. But last couple of laps, Kieran's right there behind you, and then coming down to A1 corner, suddenly a big slide and just snaps off into the barrier. Did you notice it, or did you get to the end of the start, finish straight on that final lap and think, wait a minute, where is he?
I did. I was watching my mirror at the time, and I just saw him slide off. I thought that was so unfortunate. But it happens in these races at times, doesn't it? When the tyres are worn and you hit a damp patch on the track.
Oh, 100%. It happens even to the very best out there. And just take us through that feeling that as you came out the final corner and saw the checker flag, no, this time you're not going to be robbed of it. You are going to be a race winner in the final race of the season.
honestly, I'm absolutely buzzing with it. It was a bit of luck at first, seems though there was a bit of an incident in front. They done a bit of synchronised sliding, and then another incident happened at the next corner. I just happened to be lucky enough to be on the left-hand side and managed to avoid it all. But you've got to make the most of them at opportunities when they come. But yeah, I'll definitely take how I've done this season. Seems like it's my first league on iRacing. It can only get better.
Well, to be fair, as first seasons or indeed first leagues on iRacing Go, to finish third in Pro, provisionally once all the standings have been adjusted, is an incredible feat given the level of competition, Craig. And I have to ask, what's next now? Can we expect you back on the grid when we do run our next season of racing?
Yeah, I'll be back, definitely. It's a well-run league, this one. Gotta admit, there's a lot of nice people in here. The people I spoke to have all been good and decent. I'll definitely be back for the next one to try and win it, maybe.
Oh, fantastic. Well, we look forward to seeing you come back to the grid for a future season. And like you say, to try and win it after a brilliant debut season, no doubt about it. But just before we do let you go, is there anybody you'd like to give a shout out live to on the broadcast?
Give it to Sharp and all the admins for running it. Like, they run a good league here. It's very well planned out. Got a good community going. It's great, this one.
Well, Craig, it's been an absolute pleasure to have you join me in the interview room for one last interview this season. A brilliant drive for yourself. Well done on double podium, particularly the win in race number 2. Enjoy it, savour it. A third place in the championship as well. You couldn't ask for much more in a debut season. You've been incredible, and we look forward to so much more in a future season. But until then, my friend, have a great rest of your evening.
Thank you. You too.
So here and there, ladies and gentlemen, from MSA Racing's Craig Twardock, who I think absolutely just absorbing what he's been able to achieve this season, and indeed this round, with a double podium, including that pole position as well. I mean, almost a perfect day in the office here at the Red Bull Ring today. He showed it, openly admitting there the fact that caught by surprise to a degree with that pole position lap, but much like he surprised himself, to be fair, with some of the laps he put himself on the front row with earlier on in the season. And those surprises, well, they've given him that motivation for a driver who, on his debut league on iRacing, was targeting a top 5, has picked up 1 podium, then gone on to pick up now 6 podiums this season, and with it, a first win. And this final race was all about survival and just keeping it cool. Openly admitting he did make a mistake, which was keeping an eye more on the timing rather than the laps he was turning. And naturally, it did give an opportunity for Kieran Sharp to close up perhaps a little bit faster than would have been expected. However, when it mattered most, he didn't make a mistake. And for Craig, that has been the reason why he has taken third in the Pro Championship, is because when he's needed it most, he's never put a foot wrong, whereas many others have. And indeed, next season, I can imagine he definitely will be chasing a title crown, because if he can find just a couple attempts more pace on average over the season, and also perhaps a little bit more elbows out, he's going to be, well, the ultimate forces to be reckoned with on the grid. But ladies and gentlemen, we've got one more interview to come. And well, without further ado, we couldn't end without talking to one of our AM drivers. But who's it going to be? You're about to find out. And well, ladies and gentlemen, joining me for our final interview of the season is your AM Provisional Champion. It's RPMS Sim Sports, Martin Foster. Martin, we appreciate your patience, and well done firstly on becoming AM Champion. It may have been a bit of a rough night tonight, but still, you've done it. You've achieved it, an incredible season-long battle. I mean, what does it feel to become an AM Champion?
Yeah, thanks a lot. I tried to talk to you with this massive grin on my face, but yeah, it's a big surprise, but yeah, you know, I put the work in, and I'm just I'm amazed that I managed to do what was necessary, really. But it's a bit of a shock.
Oh, fair play. I mean, a big grin on your face, that's completely understandable. Although I do have to ask, why do you consider it a shock?
Well, I mean, the short version of the story is, I mean, I've only been on iRacing since January, and the lads from RPMS, we all kind of got together on ACC, and I've done that for 4 or 5 years, but I just always resisted joining iRacing for some reason. But yeah, I finally joined, so I'm pretty new to it. But then on the opening day of the championship, Mav Garner is a friend of a friend, and he just mentioned, "Oh, it's a shame you couldn't join this because it'd be really good for you with the Mazdas you like racing and stuff." And then, yeah, just reached out, and I saw that the sign-ups were closed, but thankfully, what's his name, Sharpie, he said, "Yeah, we can squeeze you in," and so we got in, and I was literally 2 hours before the start of the first race. I just jumped in, and I fully just said to myself, just tuck in behind Mav and just see what it's like, you know. And yeah, I mean, the first race at Okayama was some of the best close racing I've ever had, and somehow I managed to win. But yeah, from then onwards, I just thought, oh well, we'll just see how it goes. And then as the season went on and on, I just thought, well, maybe I've actually got a chance here, you know. But
oh, goodness me. I mean, that's absolutely incredible to think that you were a last-minute sign-up, being squeezed in, and, well, come the season opener, back-to-back second places as well. And from that point onwards, it all came together. But focusing a little bit more in on tonight, I mean, 4 points ahead of Daniel Moffat coming into this round, so you needed a big haul of points. And you started off with, I would argue, and I think it was quite nicely put in the YouTube chat, with a statement in qualifying. You're here to take the championship, third place overall. I mean, where did that come from?
honestly, that's a massive surprise to me. I mean, I think there's been a few times recently. Well, for starters, I would say in my 6 years of sim racing, I've never been very good at pulling out a good qualifying lap. I can do hours of practice and get my time down and down and down, but when it comes to it, I don't know. I think the 3-lap qualifying really works well for me. It takes the pressure off because you've got another chance if you screw up the first lap, you know. But no, I mean this morning, yeah, I just went out and I just pushed it as hard as I could on the grip that I felt. And I fully expected, you know, all the pros to overtake me in the timing board, but it just never happened, you know. And I went and said, you know, hello to my fiance in the other room, and I came back and thought, well, what's going on? Why am I still in third? You know, but crazy.
Oh, 100%. I mean, an absolutely crazy and highly impressive pole lap in AM and third overall. And from that point onwards, it really started to potentially dictate the pace of the evening. Except then the weather decided it was going to completely take everything, put it in a bottle and shake it all around. Race number 1, a very controlled run to the AM win, 9th overall. Something tells me perhaps the focus in the sprint race was just get the AM win, perhaps fight with the pros a little bit, but the priority is the points.
Yeah, to be honest, it was absolutely don't fight with the pros. It was just watch who's behind me and just make sure I hold on to the lead. And basically, because of the way I've got it set up, I couldn't see any AMs on my overlay for the whole race. So I just didn't know what was going on behind me. And I just sat there waiting for an AM, someone like Mav or Paul Sims to start climbing the leaderboard, you know, but it just didn't come. But man, there was a few times those pros kind of pushed past me, and I thought, you know, I'm fighting for my life here. Watch out, you know. But yeah, no, I let them pass as much as I could, and actually, I totally forgot about the reverse grid as well. I didn't realize that finishing, what was it, 9th overall?
Yes.
That put me then starting second on the race, and I was like, well, this is just silly. Someone keeps putting me on the front row.
Oh, indeed. A bit of an accidental start on the front row then for race number 2, but it was no accident. You opted to take the wet tyre. The opening few laps of race 2...
I was 50-50 on that.
Oh, you're 50-50?
Yeah, right to the last second, I thought, let's run the wets and see if this rain comes. But I just knew whatever I chose, it was going to be the opposite, you know. But
Well, that's absolutely fair. So in the end, went for the wet tyre, which was the right call. But as quickly as we got started, a safety car come out. What was it like behind the safety car in terms of this wet tyre? I mean, it's made for the conditions, but I can imagine it must have felt a little bit precarious going at such low speeds for so long.
yeah, well, no, but I started on dries. I started the feature race on a dry, and so it felt okay. But then as soon as the safety car come out, I stupidly managed to spin it on the final corner, and 10 seconds earlier I thought, should I go in? But the pit lane was closed, and so as I was coming round on the second safety car lap, I saw the pit lane open, And I mean, I don't know, it's silly. I've got 35 years of Formula One watching experience, and I just suddenly thought I was a Formula One pit team, and I just thought, let's go for it and see what happens, But that's when I changed to the wets, and then I spun again on my outlap trying to catch up with the back of the field. But thankfully, I caught just up to the back of them as the safety car pulled in. So at that point, I was just watching Daniel Moffat. I just had to watch where is he in the field, and yeah, I think it was later in the race when the rain stopped. He dove in for dries, and he came out like about 10 seconds up the road from me, but a lap down. So all I had to do was sit there and watch him, and I don't think he was ever going to pull a lap back on me. So yeah, I just held on for my life,
Oh, indeed. Well, a surprise there, your main rival in the end making a strategic error, which then gave you the opportunity really just to smoothly bring it on home to the end. And a fourth place finish in AM class, more than enough to seal the deal. I mean, when you crossed that finish line for the final time, at what point did it hit you, the realisation you are now AM champion?
Well, I didn't know, really. I honestly didn't know. And I felt a little bit stupid doing a couple of donuts at the end because I'd look ridiculous if I hadn't won the championship. But yeah, I got off and checked where people had finished, and I was pretty sure in my mind all I had to do was beat Moffat in both races, and I should be safe. But I was unsure whether Mav would have been able to pull it back on me or not. But yeah, I was pretty sure I'd done enough, but I just had to double check.
Well, you've definitely done enough, and with it, become our AM champion for this season. And with that in mind, I do have to ask, what's next for yourself? Can we expect you back on the grid? Because something tells me you may be moved up to pro, and it's a whole new game at the top level.
Honest to God, I hope I don't get moved up to pro because I mean, I've done multiple years in ACC with groups like RCI and Apex and I've got promoted and got demoted and all this kind of stuff, but I never really found myself at the front of a class, and battling for the lead. And when it's a good dry race, on race pace, the pro guys clearly are faster than me, but when it's a good dry race, people like me and Mav and Paul Sims and yeah, Daniel Moffat, we were really closely paced with each other. So that was some really great driving, But for sure, I'll be back, definitely.
100%. I'd love to hear that. And regardless of whether you are pitting pro or in AM, I mean, I have no say, but either way, we'll just love to see you back on the grid, giving it your all time and time again for our upcoming season. More on that later, ladies and gentlemen, this broadcast, all to be revealed. But we will be very excited to see you there, Martin. And just before I do let you go, is there anybody you'd like to give a shout out or a thank you to live on the broadcast?
Oh, well, without getting too emotional or whatever, but yeah, the lads at RPMS, they're a great bunch of guys. There's only a small bunch of us, but I think they have an idea, but they've got me through some really tough times in the last few years, and it's really great to see it paying off. And hopefully, I'll be joining them in some endurance races soon. But for my first ever organised championship in iRacing, this has been an absolute blast, and I'll be for sure back. And yeah, thanks for Mav for suggesting the league to me, and gotta say thanks to the beautiful fiance in the other room who puts up with my hobby and allows me to do this. And yeah, I couldn't do it without her support.
Oh, brilliant. Well, that's what it's all about, support from both your team and also from your fiance. And I'm sure she'll appreciate the shout out. But with that, Martin, it's been a pleasure to see you go racing this season. It's been a pleasure having you join me in the interview room. You are our AM champion for the 2025 Sim Racing Collective MX-5 series. Congratulations on a major feat. We look forward to seeing you back on the grid in the next upcoming series. But until then, savour it. You've earned it the hard way. And well done once again.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Paul. And also, thank you very much for your efforts. It's really, really entertaining to rewatch the races afterwards.
It's my pleasure. Have a great rest of your evening.
Cheers, man. Bye.
So here and there, ladies and gentlemen, from our final interview of the season, a very happy Martin Foster, and the RPMS SimSport driver there really opened up and talking about his expectations and also about how he got on the grid at quite last minute for this season. And in the end, it's all come up nice and shiny for him, albeit today a round of two halves. Making a major statement in qualifying and with that third place overall and surprising himself, proceeding to further surprise himself with what was that win in race number 1 and also fighting with the pros, but in the end focusing on the points. And then surprised himself for all the wrong reasons at the start of race number 2 by picking the wrong tyre and having a spin come the end of the opening lap, which we saw in the replay footage just now. But in the end, made the right call to go to the wets and then stuck it out and gradually crept up the order. And with Daniel Moffat having to come into pits much later on to go to the slick tyre, albeit erroneously in the end, it was not the right call. Well, it meant that it was a lap down. And for Martin Foster, it was all about just getting to the end and bringing home with him a nice big championship crown. Absolutely over the moon with it. A brilliant effort and indeed a team effort from RPMS SimSport and also supported there by his fiancée, no doubt about it. We look forward to seeing him back on the grid in a future season of the Sim Racing Collective Series. I'll tell you one thing, where he's AML Pro, he's going to give it a good old go, and that is the racing spirit we love to see here at TSRC. But with that, ladies and gentlemen, that brings all of our interviews to a close. And indeed, what a great quartet of interviews we've had this evening. And indeed, all of our interviews have been absolute stars. But we bring them up on screen there. And as we can see, we've had interviews firstly with the pro classes, Bart Raven for Cracked Racing. And it was very good to talk to him as he returned to the podium. We also heard from AM Class driver Martin Rendell, your winner in the feature race, ahead of the interview of Craig Twardock for MSA Racing, the pro class driver finally bringing home a win at what was the 6th round of trying. An overall win and almost making it a perfect score tonight. And we just heard then from Martin Foster, your AM class champion for RPMS SimSport, with a ferocious set of drives today to make sure he took the crown home. Congratulations to all 4 of our drivers, their brilliant performances, and a big thank you to them all for joining me in the interview room. And a big thank you to every driver who's volunteered to interview this season. It's been so nice to have so many different individuals join us from round to round, so many fresh perspectives, and we look forward to plenty more in a future series. But with that, sadly, we do now have to wrap up. Thank you very much for watching, and if you have enjoyed today's show, and perhaps you're sat there right now thinking that you want to be on the grid when we run our next series, or some of our one-off events, or everything in between, well, if you do want to know more about the Sim Racing Collective, we do recommend you go to our #1 location for all things TSRC, and that is our website. And that, of course, is at www.tsrc.club, which is on screen right now. And there you can find out all the latest information regarding all things the Sim Racing Collective. And you can also join our official Discord right in the centre of the screen, which is the beating heart of the community. But if you don't want to go to our website, perhaps you're more of a social media person, then the best place to follow us is on Twitter at twitter.com/TSRC_official, where you can stay up to date with all the latest news, announcements, and broadcasts from the Sim Racing Collective community. Now, with that, we'd also like to take a moment to say a big thank you to our partners and affiliates, who do include, of course, Motorsport UK's esports division, that continue to recognise us as a recommended community, for which we are very grateful, and long may that continue. Also, SimGrid, through which we host this series, indeed all of our series there, with regards to registrations, points tables, you name it, we host it through there. A big thank you to SimGrid. Also, like to say a big thank you to Coach Dave Academy, and also Abruzzi Simulation and Motorsports. But with that, ladies and gentlemen, well, what exactly is next? Well, we've got an all-new season of racing, and at the Sim Racing Collective, we've yet to decide what series it will be in terms of what the cars will be, but definitely make sure you join the community if you want to be part of the vote, which will decide for what it'll be, but put the date in your diary. Monday, the 10th of November, we go green flag racing all over again for what will be a 6-round campaign on a weekly basis that will see us to Christmas this year. Indeed, Christmas comes early with at least one more series before Santa does deliver all of our presents. I'll be back in the commentary booth, ladies and gentlemen, bringing you all the racing as it unfolds, and we're looking forward to plenty more racing action for the upcoming season. And what an incredible season of racing it has been in the MX-5 Championship. We've all absolutely loved it, and if you haven't already, make sure to give a like to this broadcast. Also, subscribe to the Sim Racing Collective YouTube channel, so that way you can stay up to date with all the latest broadcasts as they are released. But until then, that is it for the 2025 Sim Racing Collective MX-5 Championship on iRacing. We have been the Sim Racing Collective. I've been your host and commentator, Paul Walsh, also known as TX141 or Britain a Spit, depending on what media you follow me on. And until next time, remember to stay safe, stay well, stay smiling, and much like our drives, ladies and gentlemen, remember most importantly to stay on track. Good night.